Okay, we should be live. Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear us.
Good evening, everyone.
Let's say hi. So, hey, Craig. Hey, Dana. Hey, Greg. Hey, Mark. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Alice. Hey, Emma.
Emma, get back to your spider packing.
Just taking a break. Hey, Mark and Victoria. Hope you're all well. Also, want to say hi to Leah. Well, she's going to be in chat in a minute, but knows at the top, Leah is my first channel member. So thank you, Leah.
Oh, awesome. She said she was.
So,
she said she was going to be.
Yeah, she wanted to be the first, and she's the first. So,
yeah, big
so
congratulations to you.
I am now monetized and stuff, and if people want to become channel members, they can. That's completely up to you guys and stuff. Just you watching and is more than enough support. But enough about me. Tonight we are joined by Matt of Tarantula Rookie. I'm sure everyone here knows who you are. In case there's anyone watching that doesn't, yeah. Who are you? What do you do?
Well, I'm Matt. I keep some spiders. They're not the only things, obviously, I keep, but we have a few millipedes. We've got some reptiles. Had animals all my life, but only dipped into the invert world and sort of like in the last 12 months and was addicted. Fell into a group of people that were awesome, and I've sort of been dragged down with both feet into the pits of it all, and I can't get out.
Sounds very similar to a lot of people.
Yeah, but I wouldn't change it for the world. It's absolutely awesome. So I'm enjoying life right now with it all.
No, that's fantastic. Hey, live the real world. That's fantastic. So, if you've only been sort of keeping around sort of 12 months or so, I'm guessing that's where you chose the name Tarantula Rookie from.
Yeah, it's sort of. It's like I always look at myself as I'm always learning. I'm one of these people, I always feel that I'm always learning. There's always something to learn. You never know everything about everything. So the rookie is almost like, yeah, it ties in with being new to the hobby, but also the fact that I was sort of always learning. And plus, the tag was free, so it sort of fit. I was trying to think of a new Instagram, to be fair, and that sort of popped in my head. So yeah, I went with it.
Nice. Hey, Jim. That's awesome. I totally agree with that whole, never stop learning. Every day is a school day.
Oh, 100%.
So, I mean, I've been keeping for like 20 odd years or whatever, but I'm still learning every day.
Yeah.
I think
hey, Amy. If you sort of ever think that you know everything about something, then you're going to have a problem down the road at some point.
No, don't otherwise, the day I think, you know what, I know all there is to know about these animals is the day I give up. Because, it's not boring then.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's always going to be something new to learn. And they're all, and luckily, I think with invertebrates, any kind of animal industry, there's always something new to learn. So, hey, Scott. So, that's fantastic. So, so only been sort of keeping the inverts sort of 12 months. What made you go down that route?
Connor. So my son, yeah, he's been badgering me for ages. We've had a royal python and we had a colony of hissing roaches that were his for about 10 years. And he was badgering me about frogs. He was badgering me about this, badgering me about that. And I was like, no. Anyway, he finally said, look, can I get a spider? And I said, you go and do the research. You go and find out what it needs, this and the other. I'm not getting involved. Yeah, I actually said, I'm not getting involved. And after a few months of him sort of having a look around, this and the other, he begged me into getting this starter kit that Spider Shop were offering. So I phoned them and had a long chat with them on the phone about it because I was still massively like, hold on a minute, they send these through the post, what? And I also had a huge irrational fear of spiders. I couldn't stand them. Couldn't even catch one in the house, anything. It was like, no, can't get near the things. And we got the GBB. And it went in, and it was quite a nervy rehouse, as I suppose the first ones always are.
Yep.
It got in there. It was fine though. It went straight in its enclosure and stayed in there, and it's still in the actual same setup now in its phanarium that they gave you. But it was doing fine. And after that, we just bought a couple of others. I can't even think what we got as our second and third now. I think it was a Chromatus and an LP. So not exactly like, I mean, they are, the LP, they are starter spiders, but the Chromatus was a bit feisty. But after that, honestly, I've just I wanted to know more about them. I wanted to learn more, understand what I was doing so I could keep them in the right way. And yeah, before I knew it, I think I went to Seas in January and all hell broke loose.
Once you found the shows.
Yeah. They're the things to blame more than anything else. Yeah, I'll blame the shows.
Hey, yeah, the shows. Once you find the shows, you do end up sometimes being a kid in a sweet shop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, all these things. They're always often cheaper than online or in shops and stuff. And you're like, oh my god, I can get so much for my money.
Yeah.
And before you know, you've blown couple £100 on the thing. And so you're like, oh my god.
Cork bark enclosures, everything. It's cheaper there, so you're just like, I'll buy them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it does get you like that. But
a lot of us go through that. Definitely.
Yeah, it completely. I mean, I'm glad it completely cured my fear that I had no sort of substance or evidence behind why I was being scared of them or nervous of them at all. It was definitely just made me realise that I've been a pleb for the last 40 odd years. But
as Greg said, it shows the fun, but not good for your bank account. That is very true.
It changes though, doesn't it, as well? Because once you get sort of known amongst people, all of a sudden people come up to you and say, I want to give you this, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you end up going to shows, and it's like you end up coming away with more than you'd intended to go and get, and it's sort of like, oh no, people's generosity is crazy as well.
Or once you start to get to know certain traders, you just start getting discounts on things or whatever. I've certainly had, trade, even traders that aren't train anymore and stuff that we're like, oh, have you got the species? And I'm like, oh no, I haven't got it. And then they're just like, you do now. And just give me stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, that's happened for years and years and stuff. And you're like, oh, okay.
They're cute. The Carapanensis is like my favourite spider. I think it's just amazing. Nothing about it sort of springs you can't say, oh, they're amazing because their colours. They're amazing because it's just the spider's awesome.
So I'm guessing the Carapanensis, you say it's your favourite.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's just I don't know what it is about it. It's just it's like a fluffy LP, but the one I've got, I've instantly really enjoyed keeping it. It's calm, but then it's feisty when it gets fed, but it's never sort of acted in a way that has made me nervous about it or anything like that. They're just and I like just the Nandu genus. And I think because when I got that one, I hadn't seen it before. I sort of went off and did loads and loads of videos, research about it, and this, that, and the other. And yeah, I think that's just got a special place in my heart a little bit as well. Probably because I was lucky enough to catch that molt on video that made the TikTok account go crazy. So yeah, that one's definitely got a special place in my heart. I do like that spider.
Yeah, no, that's cool. The Carapanensis took 2 minutes. Carapanensis an hour and a half.
Unboxing's going to be fun then.
And so it may well be. It may well be.
Yeah, maybe I won't be videoing that one.
Might make a nice video. Maybe
might make an interesting one. Yeah,
possibly.
We'll see.
Hey, Jazz.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Susan. Oh, Susan says she lost one of her jumping spiders. Passed away. She was 2 years old. That's not bad.
Oh, that's a good age for a jumping spider, though.
Good age, so,
Yeah.
And you done that jumping spider well. Hey,
I presume that was a female, Susan.
thought she. So yeah, yes. And hey, Darren. So sounds cool. So yeah, start off. Yeah, going to your first ever show at Seas and being overwhelmed and getting loads of things and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's spiraled out of control.
yeah, a little bit. The thing was, my birthday falls a couple of days after Seas, so when I went down there, like my other half and Connor both sort of said, "Oh, want to get you spider when we're down there?" So I said, "Well, mystery box might be a good present." Like never having a mystery box and already having like 5 or 6 spiders, I thought that'd be a good little one to do. So I went to Portsmouth Tarantulas because I'd heard that their mystery boxes were very, very good. And Kath and Connor went over there and said how much they wanted to spend and spoke to Danielle and Scott and said, like, yeah, we want to get the mystery boxes. And that was it. They just said what spiders I had, and that was it. Walked away and said, come back in half an hour. So I came back, and then Kath and Connor presented me with this bag. And all I can say is I'm glad I opened it at the show. It was literally, my heart sort of felt like it had been taken out with a spoon. I had this hot sweat come down because inside was a grown-on sling versicolor, so fine. Then we had a dictator, Harpacteria dictator. So okay, old world, not too bad, but it should be okay.
Right.
A Darlingi. Okay, the box is getting a little bit spicier. An adult female Huahini.
Nice.
And I was like, okay. And I was walking around the show thinking in myself, like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for it. I actually made a sensible decision. I went back and I said to Danny, I said, do you mind? I said, you've given me this. I said, I just don't feel confident with this at all. And I think this is going to be a bad thing for me to take home. I think it's irresponsible for me. And she said, no, it's absolutely fine. You can swap that one out. And they actually swapped it for a sub-adult female Colorato Velocis. And that thing was still a menace, but I think it was I think it could have been if I'd have taken that home, I wonder whether I would have still been keeping spiders now, because that could have been a bad experience. Yeah. And I think that was a real sensible thing to actually go and talk to them and get it changed over. I mean, the Darling,
and that's nice. Yeah, and that's nice that they were more than happy to do that as well. That just speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, she was fine. She was absolutely fine. She was. She said to me like, "Oh no, that's fine. Like, no problem at all." Didn't know how long I'd been keeping. Connor and Kath hadn't mentioned it, but what they did say was like what spiders I'd had, and they just wanted to give me something that I hadn't got. But I said I just don't think I'm ready for that level of spider yet, especially the size it was. It was massive, absolutely massive. It was in a box like this big. So I mean, the dictator was a handful, but unfortunately, that only had that 2 months. It got DKS, and I almost got it through to a molt. It had one molt, and it was almost through to the next molt, but it unfortunately it passed away. It was just never ever going to recover. But yeah, it was a shame. But yeah, I think the box overall was amazing. I think I worked it out. I think for £50, I think I got £115 worth of spiders, which is like pretty good. Like there's a few other bits in there as well.
No, definitely. Their mystery was a pretty good value.
Yeah, especially at shows as well.
Yes, definitely. Hey, Ramblings.
Hey, Paul.
So it's not just tarantulas you have.
Nope.
You have a few other things as well.
Yeah, we do. We've got a few other things. We've got starting in Connor's room. We've got a royal python, which, like I said earlier, we've had for around 10 years and still learning with that thing. We've got to rehouse that this week. We've got a new viv for it. It's decided to push the bottom plinth off of its old viv, so the glass is sort of yeah. So we've got a new larger viv for it. We've just got to silicone it all and put the enclosure and set it all up inside and make it nice for it. Got a load of pieces of cork bark to go in there to give it some tunnels and some hides and things like that on different levels. We've got a cresty in there as well, which was a rescue, and we've got a beardy in there, which is a rescue. And then in here we've got all the spiders, one mantis, my sun beetles, which obviously was a lot of badgering yourself for care and advice on them all over a long period of time. And then we have the millipedes, and we've got some stick insects as well, and then all the feeders. So, yeah, but we keep a few things.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey.
So yeah, plenty of things then. So yeah, I didn't realise you had reptiles as well as a inverts.
Yeah, the snake we've had for a long time, and going pretty well. Like it's a chunky snake, but it's we've had that 9-10 years now, I think. Absolutely beautiful, really docile, really well behaved. Just unfortunately, when we first got it, we weren't 100% sure of the husbandry, this, that, and the other, and so it's had changes over time with its substrate.
And it's one of those things that you could ask 10 different people and you'll get 10 different answers from.
Yeah, and obviously in the last 10 years, a lot of information's changed. I mean, it had when it first came to us, it didn't have a heat guard around the ceramic. It does now. It did almost straight away. That was one thing we knew was wrong. But the lighting in there, it's never had throughout most of its life like lots of UVB. It's had natural light, unfortunately, and the substrate it was on the wrong stuff. We moved it over to what we thought was a better bedding, and then we've changed it over again. So yeah, it was a learning process. I mean, the beardie we've had since I think May. And that one again, it was someone's taken a big 4x2x2 enclosure and they've custom built it inside, so it's got mortar and things like that all over the place, and then the sand on the bottom. Unfortunately, it started to dig through all to the expanding foam now, so we've got to tear the whole thing out and redo it, rather than him get all the little bits of expanding foam in him. And then the Cresty is probably the best setup we've done here. Connor did it all himself. I didn't have any involvement in it really, apart from just to move things around for him. But that thing's a fully bioactive setup with isopods and all sorts of worms and things like that in there with it. Really, really good setup. It's got like live plants, 3 different types of live plants, bromeliads, things like that. And it's a lovely setup. Connor did really well with it. And I've got the isopods in here. Yes, I've got three colonies of isopods, which Paul kindly donated. Ants Rambling kindly donated to me. So that's the other thing we've got.
Very nice. Hey, Harry.
I always forget something that we've got here.
You have to. There's always things when you get any kind of decent collection. I find you always end up forgetting at least something. Like when
you added to this. And we've got scorpions. There you go. Another thing. It's 2 scorpions.
Everyone does that sort of thing because you know what you got, but when you list them off, you always forget a couple.
Yeah, I highly suspect I'll end up with more. I highly suspect I'll end up with more scorpions probably after seas. Especially if Tim Baxter's taking down a lot of his, I will be. I've seen a lot of his photos
of scorpions on the creatures from the North Stand. So
yeah, and the photos he's been putting up the last few weeks, they've been very tempting. Yeah, very tempting.
He's got some nice scorpions as Tim. I think definitely he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the go-to for scorpions at the shows, I reckon, because
definitely.
So like you see scorpions at a few of the stands, but if he's going to do like them in a big way, and literally pairs of ones they don't always get, you don't always buy pairs of and stuff. Ones that you can't get from anyone else as well.
And also the information he's going to give people. Yeah, the information he gives people as well. He's a absolute knowledge, and he's amazing, the guy.
Oh, totally is. He's up there as one of the best people for scorpions in the UK, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Greg's getting his first isopod soon. Not really sure about them. Don't really appeal to me, but we'll see. It's a slippery slope. A lot of people say that, and then they get isopods, and then they go, "Oh, okay, these are really cool."
Do you know what? When I got spiders, I didn't get it to start with, and then I was watching the spiders, and I was like, okay. And my thing was mantids. It's like I don't get them. I don't see the point. Like I just did not have a connection with them. And then we went to BTS, and we was looking at Mantis Den stand, And I didn't buy one there, but I literally, when we got home, I was regretted not getting one, and bought one of their starter kits they did with the Magiscula. And so, honestly, yeah, just changed my mind about them. And it was the same with the Scorpions. I was like, I don't really get it. I don't see them. I mean, I know that you don't see them very often, a lot of them. Some you do, some you don't. But yeah, since having them, I now do get them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do want to get more of them. And it's the same with the isopods. When I was given those 3 colonies, I was like, but honestly, they're brilliant. I mean, the zebras are out all the time. The dairy cows are a little bit more skittish, and the oranges you never see them, but they're cool to watch. They are really cool to watch. Like, and it's what I find cool to watch is every time I look in there, I see new babies, tiny little new babies running around. It's just they're breeding.
Yeah,
So obviously they're doing something right.
That's it. And that always gives you a little thing of like, oh yes, I'm like that with all my isopods, especially with the sort of slightly higher end ones like the Cabaris and stuff.
Yeah,
Luckies and 11 boots. If I see little babies, it's like, finally, yes, I've got more babies, sort of thing. But I'm like that even with your more basic ones like your clue guys and and the dairy cows.
Yeah.
As I've seen new babies, it's always yes.
Yeah, we didn't. I knew we were going to try and. I knew we was going to try and keep the basic ones, because I was like, when I started looking at the videos, your videos, Aquarium Max, and all the videos on isopods, it was crazy because they were just like, there's so much more, and that's one thing I'm quite conscious of. It's like with spiders, okay, you've got a few things to learn and understand, so but then you can keep more of them. But as soon as you start delving into isopods and then scorpions and then mantis, it's like all these things I've got to try and remember. I didn't want to sort of spread myself too thin. So when people say, "Oh, would you like one of these?" I'm like, I think I'm at my fill now. It's like I can't take on a new species because I can't absorb any more knowledge at the moment. No, I keep my isopods separately, Diana.
Mars asks, is a vinegarine on your list, Matt? CW or Chaz, maybe both picked one up and right.
I do like them.
Vinegreens are cool.
I'm limited with space in this room at the moment. That's the only thing. So they are on my list. I would like to get one, but
if you can't fit something like a Massacroproctus gigantus, the giant ones, there's ones that get that big.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
So, like the type of houses I've got one, that is that sort of is pretty green.
All right, okay. I've got plans. This shelf you can see here. Well, where's my hands go here with all the slings on it, and it's got some Braplas on the bottom shelf. There's 3 or 4 shelves there, but there's a massive desk here, which is like probably there. This desk here, it's too big and it takes up too much space, and it's dead underneath. I've just got cork bark and stuff. So I'm going to remove all this at some point in the next few months, and there's going to be another 120 by 45 racking shelf on this wall. And then on this wall here, I'm going to have like a Kallax unit, just a 4x2, but I can have my display enclosures on this one. And then on this one will be a lot of racking. So I will have more space at some point in the next few months. Just got to try and find the finances to actually remove everything around. And yeah, it is. I want to get all the lighting and all this sort of stuff as well in there, like make it nice.
Yeah, definitely. And it's good, like, obviously, take into consideration just how big something is likely to get and stuff, because sometimes it's too easy, especially with spiders, to buy up loads of slings and stuff. You're like, well, yes, they're only small, and forget that, they might end up being quite large spiders depending on species.
Yep.
And stuff in a few years' time and stuff, and you're like, oh, end up with running out of room. That's why I like things like the isopods and stuff, because I know, like, well, they're only going to take up so much amount of room, and that's it.
Once you've got them in a bin, they're in the bin, and that's their bin. I had a conversation about this the other day actually, and I was saying, like, so at the moment I think I've got 90 tarantulas, I think, and I know that obviously I've got slings, juvies, subadults, and a couple of adults. I know that some of them are going to grow at different rates. I know some of them are male, so they're not going to get as big. but I do think that, you know, if they all grew tomorrow and all needed their final homes tomorrow, I wouldn't have the space for half of them. So the only saving grace is knowing that the fact that they grow at different speeds, and the fact that there's, you know, males aren't going to last as long as the females, this, that, and the other, and so there is time on the side for that. But I'm very conscious about that, you know, adding more. And I think what will end up happening is, if I do end up having a problem with some space, what I will do is end up sort of, some of my slings that I grow on, I may sort of sell to people as like, oh, I've grown these ones on, and, you know, and sort of almost swap them for another one spider that I want, you know, bye-bye to 5 slings, hello to 1 juvie or something like that. It's a strange thing, because with animals, I was very much like, well, you know, you buy an animal, you care for it for its entire life. And it's sort of, my brain struggles to comprehend that I'm going to be like, no, I'll grow that on and then I'll move it to somewhere else and someone else can look after it for its adulthood and things like that. It's just a strange change of concept, because I've always been a dog owner, and you'd never do that with a dog. Well, some people do, but I would never do that with a dog or a cat or fish or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a bit different with the inverts, because
yeah,
you know, I sometimes will move stuff on. BTS, I moved on a couple of decent sized LPs, because I was like, well, I've got, you know, sort of 3. Well, at the time I had like 5 decent sized ones, so I was like, well, I don't need 5 decent sized ones.
Yep.
So, and 2 of them are old, mature males. So, you know, they're way past sort of breeding, but they're still going. Yep. I was like, well, I'll just keep those for, you know. And then another one that is, you know, I kept one that I'm pretty sure is a female. I haven't actually probably sexy, but they'll place those 2, and it goes, and moved on to others. It's like, well, someone can use those, or, you know, and sold them on fairly cheap, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just I'm not interested in making money out of them. I'm interested in someone actually perhaps buying them for cheap, and that will get something out of them, hopefully, and stuff, rather than them sitting here not, you know, kind of not doing anything. Well, Diana, I haven't got spare clown ice pods yet. They're breeding, but not enough for me to. I haven't got the numbers for me to sort of start splitting up yet. Oh, thank you, Susan.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Diana's asking about some zebras. I said, as long as I've got some zebras, and it'd be worth sort of getting some out and sort of sharing them, I will do. I'm not sure when I'll have enough, but I know that they breed like crazy. So I'm sure there's a few of us that will probably be able to help you out with the zebras. I was talking about moving the spiders on. It's like, I know that I've got an arrangement going on with Leah. We're just hoping that my Canberra guy lasts until then. I've got a mature male, thanks to one of the lives actually, that both Danielle and a few other people sort of said, yeah, that's a mature male Canberra guy. He's going to be going off to Leah, so down at when we go to Taunton. So he actually hadn't eaten since October, and I was getting a bit worried because his abdomen was shrinking quite a bit. But he actually ate on Saturday, so he had a big feast on Saturday night. He went crazy for the food rather than just whacking it with his pedipalps. So that's a good sign. His abdomen's looking a little bit fuller now. So hopefully I'll get another feeding him this week, and then hopefully he'll last until Taunton, and then Leah can have a mature male for a nice breeding project down there. Be good. And obviously that will free up a nice 20 by 20 by 30 space on the desk somewhere, so I can fill it with an Avic.
That's it. Harry's just thought about Massacre Proctor's Gigantor. That I haven't watched his video on them yet, actually, but he said that they don't live very long because they're well-caught adults who can't tell sex or age. That is sort of true. They're not always adults, so they come in, but the ones that you tend to buy, if they're any sort of decent size, are well-caught. A couple of zoos have actually captive bred them and stuff, but they are. Oh, cheers, Steve.
See, do you know what? It's like as soon as people can, they will. It's quite cool. I was going to say to you, Phil, like I feel quite privileged actually tonight, because it's like the first live you've done since being monetized, and look who you've got on.
Yeah, you are the first. You're the first. come on since I got my monetization.
Yeah, no, it's thoroughly deserved, buddy. Thoroughly deserved.
But as I say, she'll always be the first member. Leah messages like, Phil, do not tell anyone you've got membership until I've become a member.
I bet she was sitting there. She was sitting there probably, and like click, 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 click.
So like, you don't have to. You don't have to. And so she was like, no, I'm doing it. So, okay.
No, she's a good girl. She's a good girl.
No. Leah's awesome. Leah is awesome. So yeah, you got. What are your perhaps your plans for this year coming up with regards to the inverts?
Right. So as far as me personally, obviously I'm gonna. I think I spoke about this the other day. I'm gonna. I've got a big 60 by 45 enclosure, an EXO, which I was going to originally put my Sturmy in, but I've got a 45 by 45 that's going to be much more suited to it, just because the size of the spider, looking at it and looking at what it's in now and the space it's going to want, I think it'll be a better fit. It means on the shelf that I was going to put it on, I can put that enclosure on and then put my Gigas that's quite large next to it, and it fits the shelf a lot better. So I've got this 60 by 45 available, and I think I'm going to end up doing a communal on that. It won't be for a little while because I want to sort of see if I'm going to put some Packnoda beetles, like the sun beetles, and some millipedes in it, as we spoke about. But I want to try and wait and see grubs first of all in the setup. The sun beetle, I want to make sure they're breeding in their setup before I go disturbing them for the first time, just to sort of like know that I'm doing things right before I set up this big elaborate enclosure. Other things, obviously, I've got a big room design to go on here. This huge desk has got to go. And what you can't see behind the laptop here is half of the room, which is just stacked full of toot. It's got plants and all sorts, and golf clubs and a guitar and guitar amps and a skateboard and all my motorbike clothes, everything like that over there. So that's all at that end. So it does need a major redesign, this room. I've got too much clutter. As far as the channel goes, I've got a fair few things I'm going to try and do this year. Obviously, just keep the uploads coming on a weekly basis. I've got an idea where I want to sort of go and visit people and do like some interviews and show off their collections. But I've got to try and figure out which people I want to sort of go and see, talk to them and make sure it's okay and arrange it with them, figure out the logistics and the cost of all the fuel and everything. But at the same time, I want to do their collections proud. But I don't necessarily want to do all the people that you might think. Like, I'd like to go and sort of like showcase people that maybe sort of sit in the background a little bit. Even people, if they've only got a small collection of like five animals or something like that, you know, they might be the most interesting person that I want to talk to. And I'm going to hopefully go and sort of see some of small channels and some big channels. I've got one big channel already that is definitely said they'll jump on board and would love me to go and video their collection. And honestly, when he said, yeah, I'm down for that, I was like, this is going to be cool. So that's what I've got planned on the channel. And then obviously I've got the idea that I'm going to trial doing a live once a month. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but yeah, I've got some ideas in the back of my head how I want to make it a little bit unique to me with the way I do the lives, but we'll see. We'll see how they play out. If I get loads of abuse, I'll just abandon them.
You know it's going to happen.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and obviously a lot of the macro footage. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It was really, really cool actually doing but the clip on I've got those, and I always forget I've got those. They work quite well. The little clip on lenses.
Oh, do you know what? That's been an absolute. It's almost become sort of like my thing, isn't it? It's like with my channel. It's like most weeks I'll have some macro footage in there, and some of those slings I'm videoing are like less than a centimeter in length, and you have to get the phone quite close. But most of the spiders never sort of bat an eyelid. I've even done some macro footage with like some Ceratogyrus stuff, and they're fine with me getting right in the camera on their face almost. And yeah, What you don't see with that is I have got like with the lids off, I've got like a catch tray and then another catch tray on the outside. So if a spider does decide to run, it's not me just because I'm so close. I can't sort of view the
You
whole
can't
situation.
see what's going on. Yeah.
So if one of them does bolt, I've got to make sure that I've got it set up so that they're not going to go running off. Because I've even done some macro footage of my OBTs and stuff, and honestly, they were just fine. I do believe though that with the spiders, if they're sitting and they feel secure on their webbing, the last thing they want to do is leave it. Leaving their webbing is a last resort, so they're not going to want to run unless they feel they need to.
They'd rather go down their burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've got a burrow, or they'd rather hide somewhere than run away. Kind of thing. Definitely.
Every time I see her comment, it's brilliant.
But no, so I think what's great about like I said, I've got a couple of those, and I kind of always forget that I've got them. But yeah, seeing it, you kind of sometimes forget that slings can be quite pretty.
Oh,
we always think of sling, even like some of the basic slings of some of them they're just small and brown. But actually, when you get a light on them, get a macro over them, and you're like, actually, there is some patterning there, and they are, they can be really pretty in their own right.
It's like I've got a very small Thrixopelma purians, and I had a light over the top of it, and I was sort of filming with the macro lens, and it wasn't until I did that I realised they've got the same markings on the legs as almost like a Samani, and they have this iridescent olive. Like when you catch it right and you're really close up, they just glow, and it's like I would have just looked at it as a dull spider, like if I hadn't spotted that. And it does it opens your eyes up a little bit. Even things like even the Kluge I've got that's super tiny. When you get that close, some of the things you notice, the markings on their carapace, even as a tiny sling, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think for the money they cost, those clip-on macro lenses are an absolute game changer if you do any video in at all.
So yeah, no, absolutely. And they're great as well for like any kind of tiny thing, not just like the trashes, but again with the isopods, whatever, and isopods, you'll see things that you just don't see.
Yep.
And that just opens up, another whole world.
I got some macro footage a little while ago, actually. I mean, the jumping spiders are ideal with them things because you can get some really good shots with them, and they are quite inquisitive, so they tend to sit looking at the camera or come towards the phone. But I also got some macro footage of the Heridia, the assassin bugs,
nice.
as well. And that, honestly, seeing them close up, that was amazing. That was really cool.
Yeah, they're really fun to, fun to have a play around. I mean, I think I got mine for like a 5 or whatever from like Wilco's or whatever. And it's just you're just slipping on a little magnifying glass, but they actually work really well.
Yeah. The hardest animal to work with those things is the mantis, because the mantis, as soon as you put the phone in the mantis's face, they just climb on the phone. So all you end up with is a load of shots of the underneath of the mantis as they climb up the phone. So they're paying in the backside for that.
The only problem. That's the only problem with filming mantids sometimes is that they're watching, they're like, what's going on and stuff, and then just like, we're gonna start climbing up. And so my one in there does it.
Especially if you're trying to film a paradoxa, and it just they don't like to stay still.
So they don't. They stay still until you stick something in their face.
Yep.
And then they're like, right, now we're going to move.
Even if they're eating, they'll just stop eating and have a look at you. They don't. They just what's going on. They're very much like a beardy, and they give you the side eye. They give you the side eye, and they just look down at you like, "What are you doing?" Yeah,
they absolutely do. Yeah, see, there's loads of blurry macro mantis pics. Everyone does.
It does. It does happen. Yeah, they do. I like them. That is true, I think.
Yeah, some of them do quite. They can be quite interactive and stuff because some of them will watch you across the room. It's watch what you're doing and stuff. It's like, there's a lot that go. Mine have a tiny head, but they got really good eyesight, and there's a lot that goes on in there.
I was actually quite surprised at how much it affected me when my Magiscula eventually passed away from old age. I didn't think that I would have the connection that I did with that animal towards the end. I mean, I was hand feeding it slush for about 2 weeks every day on my hand and stuff, and it was just I was yeah, it did me in a little bit. It actually really did. I was quite surprised by that. I mean, I'm quite a big softy anyway, but that was like I know it happens, but I got quite a good connection with that man. He wanted to be on my hands all the time. If it was a spider, if it was a spider, because you don't have that. I mean, even though it's sad to lose spiders, you know, if you're not handling them and they're just in there enclosed stuff, you never had that. It's like, I suppose, with dogs, you're stroking them, you take them for walks, you feed them, you pet them. And with mantis, obviously, they even though they don't get anything from it, they do seem to love to be on your arms, your hands. They want to walk, they jump on your head, all sorts. And you do get a bit more of a connection with them, I think. I will be getting some more. I would like to breed. I would like to have a go at breeding some mantis at some point. That's one thing I would like to do. But that's a long way away.
Yeah, no. As what the query requirements for a mantis, it really depends on the mantis. But things like the giant Asians, like the Herogula, Majuscula, or Membracina, which I've got in there, they're fairly easy. To be fair, the Paradox of the Ghost Mantis, that's quite a nice one as well. And so, but when you get into things like Odonomantis, and then you're going into sort of more experience and a bit more harder requirements.
One of the things that sort of jumped out at me with the mantis was you have it in an appropriately sized enclosure. Be prepared to be rehousing it quite regularly until it gets to full adult size.
Yeah. It's a bit like stick insects tend to say, sort of at least 3 times the height as they're going to be long when they're adult.
Yeah.
To allow for that molting and make sure there's, you know, twigs or whatever going up to the top, and so I've got enough space to molt as well.
I need to rehouse.
Food tend to say avoid crickets. With mantids, flying prey tends to be better than flies and stuff, and then some species will only eat flies.
My ghost is a bit weird. It's this is the one that Mark and Victoria gifted me, but it's a strange one. It's like you put a fly in there and it just not bothered. Locust, not bothered. It likes its mealworms, but it almost wants to be like, well, are you going to pass it me or what? It won't. Yeah. And it's like, come on. I know they change a little bit as they get bigger, and they sort of, sometimes you have to almost shove the food in their face for them to react to it a little bit. But they are cool. I know they won't starve themselves to death. I think most keepers are probably a little bit too impatient, and they'd be like, they just want to see them feed. So most keepers are a little bit more like, come on. Whereas it could be a couple of days wandering around before they're interested in it. Oh dear. She's got a fun night ahead.
Very fun night.
Tonight would have been ideal to have Emma on. Live rehousings.
Yeah, you can give the moths to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I tend to use a lot of green bottle and blue bottle flies and stuff. Occasional locusts.
The flies are so easy to get.
It does depend on species.
Yeah, I think the flies are the winner. Like, go down the fish tackle shop and get yourself some of the pinkies that come to the green bottles, and just separate all the maggots out into different tubs, and then you can have them growing at different rates, because you'll get a massive tub for like £4. Actually, and the spiders will eat the maggots. They'll eat,
maggots are actually really good for like spiderlings and stuff. I mean, what Lucas Spark Spider says, that's what he uses primarily for his slings, is maggots.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if they pupate,
because they're not going to hurt the spider at all, and they're an easy one just to pop in.
Yeah.
Everything. I have one mantis currently, Harry, which is in here, which is a Herogula Membracina.
I have one myself at the moment as well.
He's literally watching the screen at the moment. Or I say he. I haven't actually sexed it. The size of it's probably going to be a female, but watching the screen at the moment.
Yeah, it's really funny. I've been doing a load of macro footage of my ghost over the last few weeks, and every time I keep forgetting to sort of take a picture of its abdomen to sort of count the segments. So I still haven't sexed it yet because every time I'm just too concentrating on its eating. even Tron's died on the granddad thing now.
Oh, cheers, Tron. We'll highlight that one. So it was asked which scorpions do you have and which on your to get list. Again, Matt, which scorpion do you have?
Right, so I have a what have I got? A Heterometrus species. We're not sure 100% what it is, so we've just got it down as Asian forest. And then I was given a lovely gift from Steve W of a Javanometris cyanus scorpion, nice. Tiny little thing. I did have some of the pygmy dwarfs, but unfortunately, both of them passed away. It was quite strange. I thought one of them had molted, and then when I sort of had a look through the molt, there was all these little tiny little like little worm things almost. And then I realised, no, actually, there was no scorpion left. So I mean, at that size, they do tend to whatever's in the soil will eat them pretty quick. So unfortunately, lost both of them. But yeah, so I've only got those two.
I've got a few. Actually, one of my recent videos was on all my scorpions, but yeah, I've got the Arizona hairy, I've got a dune scorpion, I've got a few different species of Asian forest. I've got Heterometrus spinifer, Heterometrus solenis, Heterometrus longimanus. I've got the Pandipalpus viatorus, got the Chairus species Sumatra, got the Euscorpius flavicordis. What other ones have I got? There's a thing trying to think. I think that's all the species of the true scorpions that I've got. And I've got sort of a few. Some of them have got a few of each. Some of them. And then the non-true scorpions, I've got two species of vinegaroon. So I've got the giant vinegaroons and the small Thai species of vinegaroon. And then the ambroplagids, the Taylor Swift scorpion as well. Oh, I've got the Nebo scorpions. I've got my Nebos. I've got the Nebo scorpions as well.
I was looking at Bug Hut. Have got a couple of spinifers in like this week, and they're quite large. And honestly, under certain light, that dark blue that they have, they look like gloss black, but when you see them under certain light, they go that blue. Oh, they're amazing! That dark blue.
Yeah.
I'm very tempted, but I'm holding out to C's. I'm going to hold out to C's because I know that Clayton as well has got some. He's got some emperors on his site as well. And I'm very. I know I said about space, but I might have to bend the space, knock out a brick wall or something to make space. At the price that he's got them at, they're a pretty decent price. So I was like, I'm going to get down there and have a look at Tim's stuff and his stuff when I get down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, in terms of for scorpions, I'd like to get. Tim's got some species that I would like to get, especially the semi-arboreal ones.
What's the ones that can live communal? There's a hairy one, isn't there? That can live communal.
As in with like the death feigning beetles.
Yeah.
Arizona hairies with blue death feigning beetles.
Yeah. The only thing about those death feigning beetles is the fact that it's the breeding side of things. I know we spoke about it before. It puts me off keeping them because I don't want to just keep getting the wild caught ones in all the time and having to pay for them and not being able to sort of have them breed.
Yeah, I was actually had another zookeeper friend of mine. He popped by. He's up in Scotland, but he was down this way, so he popped by. We was having a bit of a chat about breed death feigning beetles because he's working with them privately as well and stuff. And he's in direct contact with places like Cincinnati Zoo that have bred them and stuff. And I'm doing it because I know Guy Tansley's done in the UK. He emerged one, I think, maybe a couple. But they're easy. The beetles are really easy to keep. As the other beetle, and they're long lived. And darting beetles tend to be long lived. But yeah, it's breeding them. Getting the larvae is easy.
It's just getting to pupate, isn't it?
That's the difficulty bit. That's the difficult one. It seems to be trying to keep that substrate a constant 31 degrees.
Yeah.
To pupate. But then also keeping them humid enough, but not getting too humid at the same time. And
because the beetles like it nice and dry.
It's like, you go just a little tiny bit either side of the parameters, and that's it.
Right. Yeah, so does seem a difficult one.
They're nicotine definitely. So which is the thing with them, unfortunately.
I do get the challenge. I do get the challenge with a difficult species to look after and things like that. Like once you sort of like have done things and kept animals that are easier to keep, but also sometimes it's nice to have a nice, peaceful, easy, relaxing life and actually keep some of the animals that are just all I've got to worry about is if it goes up and down. I haven't got to worry. They're a little bit more hardy. The parameters don't have to be 100%, and you can sort of relax when you come home and enjoy your animals rather than have to stress out about their requirements.
Definitely. Hey, Dad.
Hey, Dad.
So, no, definitely. I mean, yeah, I love having some of the simpler stuff. And then I go, I have some of the more difficult things, just a few, just to be like, can I do this? Can I do this?
Yeah, have a couple of those and don't sort of like end up having a whole collection of things that really need spot on parameters. I think that's when you sort of can come unstuck as well, isn't it? If you've got an awful lot of things that you have to constantly keep on top of, it becomes a full-time job.
Absolutely. That's why, most of the stuff I keep all fairly basic. So, my lot of things, there's just a few things like the, like Kabara isopods and, maybe rupees, but even that actually, that's pretty. So far that's been a doddle, which is nice because it's my most expensive one I've got at the moment. And what was nice is that not too long ago, me Arizona hairy scorpion molted successfully, which a lot of people don't get those to molt successfully in captivity. So,
nice.
That molted without just it was a doddle for it to molt was like nice. I've got that. Must have that, fairly spot on for that one, which is nice.
Yeah, nice. That's good. It's always nice when that happens, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And so sometimes those little things, even if it's something that's kept fairly commonly, if you get that one little thing that perhaps not everyone's able to do or able to get, that's those little successes.
Yeah, definitely.
Does like the Arizona hairies, it'd be awesome if we can get those breeding in captivity, but that'll be difficult.
Yeah, I think it's like
very, very difficult.
I had a Kluge that like needed me to. I've spoken about it before. I had a Kluge that needed me to sort of intervene with its molt because it had its old abdomen stuck over the top of its new abdomen. It was covering. I would have left it, but unfortunately, it was covering its spinnerets and its sort of backside. So I didn't want it to have a problem with not being able to pass any waste and things like that. So I thought I'd have to interact. But trying to get this, honestly, it's about probably a third of a centimetre, this thing. And so I had this like tiny little model paintbrush, like with a drop of water on it. And I was chasing it around this enclosure for a good few hours just to try and wet this thing, get its bum, because it just wanted to run and hide all the time. So I was having to coax it out with food and then try and get it. And then it was going back. Did get it eventually. So I'll take that as a win because now it's molted again since, and that was fine. So I don't know whether it would have had a problem or what would have gone on with it otherwise. So
definitely. Dan asked me what bugs I'm bringing to sea. So probably have olive millipede, so the Pterodinopus autis. Most probably have Panda King isopods, possibly dairy cow isopods, maybe wild type Lavis as well. Possibly metallic emerald cockroaches. They're my main thing that seem to be taking the show, so they really like the clappers for me at the moment.
I think the follow-up question
really nice
to that, I think the follow-up question to that from Diana though has to be: are all those going to have your new label with QR code on for all your videos?
They are indeed.
That's going to be cool.
They are indeed.
I think if you haven't
well, that's the plan anyway. That is the plan. So yeah, my Christmas present, or one of my Christmas presents was a brand new little label printer that is absolutely really awesome. The same one that Jeremy's got and stuff. So what was nice is I was able to go, right, I know someone who's got this one and says it's good. Because when you go online and search for label printers and stuff, you met with a myriad of different ones. And stuff. And I don't have the space for like just a regular printer up here because I've filled it with invets and stuff. So this one's nice and handheld. Designed the label on the phone and stuff, and the fact that you put your logo on, it's all firmware printing, so there's no buying ink or anything. Just got to buy labels every now and then. And the fact that it has the capability of putting a QR code on the label that you can link to specific videos, or website or whatever you want is absolutely great. So that my idea is that then everything that I sell hopefully will be labeled up with QR code on it. They'll take you to a video on that species. That's my idea.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will happen.
It's a brilliant idea. Absolutely brilliant idea. It's like something unique that like makes it nice and easy. Like you can just, as soon as you sell something at a show, you can be like, scan the QR code and there'll be a video on helping you with it. So you haven't got to spend hours explaining it at a show.
And because I used to like give out care sheets and stuff, but I struggle with typing things out and writing things. Well, it's in my head. I struggle to get on paper. It's in my head and it's in my head and stuff. And I've always struggled, like doing like college assignments and stuff or anything like that. I just get writer's block all the time. And do sort of see nowadays that people don't tend to give out care sheets anymore. But also care sheets are easily lost and stuff. It's sometimes a lot of paper and stuff. That sometimes it just gets chucked in the bin or whatever. So sort of the fact that I can put a QR code on there that links to a video on the species, then they're not going to lose that, and hopefully they'll will scan that and go to be able to get the information that this is how I do it, this is how I keep them.
That's cool. It's such a good idea. It's funny because I got a label maker for Christmas and I was so excited. I spent the entire of Christmas Day before Scott's Live literally labeling everything I had. And now I'm like, what can I label? It's such a nerdy thing, but it's so satisfying. Typing it all out, press print, type it out, press print, until they do a name change. But yeah, I just love it. Mine unfortunately hasn't got. I mean, it can do QR codes, I think, but they are tiny because it's not as deep a printer as yours. It's one of the more shallow ones. I think it's like 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeters high. So you can get one on there. You can get a QR code, but they're tiny.
I'll show you guys what it is. Because
no, you're right, Steve.
New labels come the other day, which are bigger labels.
Yes, Chaz, I'm going to seize, Chaz. Funny you should say that, Steve. I did label the label maker. And Connor labelled me. Connor decided to print a label out and stick it to my forehead that I didn't know about.
But basically, ends up looking like that.
That's awesome.
And it's just a bit more, a little bit more professional and stuff. Saves me typing that because I've always just typed out, and then emailed them to my dad for him to print out for me and stuff, and then cut up and sellotape on tabs. Or even one show, had my mum writing them all out herself on labels and stuff because my hand can't read my handwriting, but you can read my mum's handwriting.
That's the one I got. Literally.
As I was, any female flying wants a book from you. Got what? One go, 4 boys. You talking about the stick and sex, Diana? Because if you are, I do have adults of those that I can play. Maybe some other stick and sex. Oh, what's happened?
Phil's froze.
I'm not selling any scorpions, Harry.
Congratulations to Emma.
So Daz asks, Phil, what bug is big and shiny? I would like one. Can you put any ideas? When you say big and shiny, I mean get some nice big shiny beetles.
Oh, I tell you, Kath is actually Kath's
They
after
don't
the
always
beetle.
have the lifespan.
So I don't know if you know, Phil, but Kathy's after. She's got this thing. She wants to be able to keep some beetles downstairs, and she's after these rainbow leaf beetles.
Do you have a picture of them? Trying to think what ones they're called.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a dig around for them because they look.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you,
I think they may be similar to like the rosemary beetle and stuff that we just have wild in the UK.
Yeah, I think they are. She was saying about it.
They look similar to that or a tansy beetle. There won't be a tansy beetle because they're critically endangered.
I did say to her though that you had suggested the Africana, and she was like, "Oh, okay." And I showed her the photos of them, and she's like, "Oh, actually, I think she just wants some. She wants some bugs to keep downstairs. I don't think she realises how long they're going to be.
I think they'd be a nice one because they're as easy as your pack loader.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the adults are slightly smaller, but the Africana they're bright metallic green.
Yeah, they do look nice.
Just as active and stuff. So it makes them nice, and the larvae won't be. They're not protein hungry, so they're not going to eat your pack loader larvae, and kind of vice versa, really.
Right. Yeah.
If they breed, if they do breed in the same enclosure. I certainly know a lot of zoos have done that with the two species. Whereas, sometimes people, if you mix something like a Eudicella species, Eudicella larvae will eat Pacnoda larvae sometimes.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? You've got to be so careful with what you put in there.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, that's why going to a lot of zoos tend to have breeding tubs behind the scenes for everything.
Yeah. I read a.
Night, Greg.
I read an interesting thread, and it was saying that you sort of want to prioritize if you're doing a communal setup, prioritize maybe your top 2 or top 3, and then with those top 2 or top 3, you prioritize those, make the setup exactly for that, and then if you want to add anything else, you sort of have to just see if it impacts those priority species, and that's basically the best way to sort of think about it. Made sense to me. Rainbow stags. Yeah.
The rainbow stags are good stag beetle to start off with. They're a little bit easier in terms of the breeding and rearing up than other stag beetles.
Right. Okay.
I mean, because a lot of people will rear rainbow stag larvae in flake soil. Quite often, whereas some of the other stag beetles, a lot of people do swear by kimchi. And kimchi's a pain.
Right.
This is a real pain. So expensive. It's expensive, and to try and make it yourself, it's a real pain because you've got to make sure that you're kind of making it in a sterile environment.
Right. Okay.
So when it comes to the beetle stuff, I get so jealous of Japan and Thailand and Taiwan because they just get it all dirt cheap down their supermarkets.
And they've got a nice environment over there as well, haven't they, for a lot of diversity.
No, they do. They're like literally speaking to people from Japan and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, our basic kimchi would be like $2, whatever, basically £2 in our money." And that's for their most basic kimchi, which is better than the kimchi we get in the UK. And you're like, what?
Some countries have it.
Just kimchi is so upsetting. I think. Yeah. And there's like strains of kimchi and stuff. So yeah, that's a whole other ball. That's why I don't really do stag beetles. Do other beetles, but not getting kimchi.
Well, this is what I was saying. What I was saying to you earlier, though, as well, isn't it? It sort of feeds on from that about the fact that you sort of have all these animals, and then if you like get more and more different species and you diversify more, it's everything else you have to keep for them. It's everything else. It's like even with just the sun beetles and the millipede, it's me thinking, oh, now I've got to keep all the rotten wood. I've got to keep all the decaying leaf litter and all that. So I've got bucket upon bucket upon bucket. When you stick to one thing and you've got one type of animal and you've got one type of substrate, it's all those behind the scenes things you haven't got to worry about.
That's it. And with like, keeping anything like, millipedes, beetles, anything like that, especially anything that eats the substrate, you've either got to be willing to go out and collect it from a nearby forest that you know is free of everything, not sprayed or anything like that, and you've got permission to collect it, or you've got to be willing to make flake soil, which can be a pain and takes a long time. Or make your own leaf mulch by, again, collecting leaves and writing them down. That takes like a year. Or you got to be willing to buy it, and it's not cheap.
No,
it's not cheap to buy it and stuff. I still buy bags of flake soil just to always have some. So I've always got flake soil around as well as making it.
It's another show special. It's another show special. Get it cheap at shows or cheaper.
Yeah, cheaper at shows, not necessarily cheap.
No,
sort of thing. Or online, you can go to MK Exotics, use my discount code for substrates as well.
Yeah, I must say, I was very impressed with their grub den. Their grub den soil was brilliant.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, I got that the first time. Well, setting up, I haven't actually put anything in it yet. I'm about to. I've allowed the plants to settle in first, but there's going to be like maybe a few beetles going in there as well as millipedes and stuff.
Right.
So I did get a bag of their grub den. Put it in when I opened up and saw it, I was like, no, this actually does look like pretty decent stuff. And speaking with Mike about it and stuff, it's a pretty decent substrate. So that's good for your beetles and your millipedes and stuff as well.
Yeah, we've had the Ghana speckle leg millipedes in it for a while, and a lot of it is in with the little tub that we've got on top of the sun beetles with the grubs in it, and they're fine. We actually had the millipede actually visually molt in front of us with the other day in it, so it obviously likes its environment. So
yeah, that's why you put that photo up, and that's awesome.
Oh, seeing that was brilliant. so good. It was weird though. Its legs were still moving. The molt's legs were still moving. I swear that's got to be the little bugs they have on them, the symbiotic bugs they have. But it was it was good.
It's been because of Mike and that. It helps keep them clean. So it's fine as long as they're not in like huge numbers.
Yeah, just a few.
Beneficial.
They freaked me out when I first saw them. Like, didn't expect it at all. And I was like, "What's this? What's these all over?" And like, "Oh no, yeah." I thought we had mites and stuff, but they're good. They are good.
Chaz asked him, does he get a jumping spider from Seas? If you want a jumping spider, get one. They're awesome.
Just get it from. I mean, there's going to be a lot of sellers there that will have them. I think Spooder Nest will be a good shout. If you go and see her, she's awesome. And she's got some good enclosures as well and stuff, and she's always really nice. But there's more. There's this year. Like, I know I've only been keeping spiders a year, but what I've noticed from summertime onwards is the number of sellers and the number of breeders that have come up for jumping spiders specific. They have just seemed to explode at the moment. There's so many out there. I think the only downside with the jumping spider thing is obviously the unfortunate people crossbreeding them and making morphs because they want to see if they can get all these different colours and stuff. And
that's
the waters very, very quickly.
It does. The thing I found with jumping spiders, I mean, I bred jumping spiders just the Philophus Regis years ago, before they were popular.
Yep.
And one of those past sort of like couple of years, mainly since like social media just took off with them and stuff. Their prices skyrocketed.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember selling like jumping spider slings that I'd bred for a $5.
Yep. Yeah, you're looking at
now, the same size. You'll be paying 15-20 quid for.
Yeah, I think £20. If you're looking at something like Bahamas, the white ones and things like that, you're talking about £20. Even at shows, you might get a little bit cheaper. The Florida Phidippus regius, like the ones that tend to be, well, unfortunately, a lot of them seem to come out of males. They tend to be about £15. But yeah, it's it does seem to be. So I think they're good though for a lot of people who sort of struggle with spiders in general. They're an ideal entry into spider.
Absolutely, yeah, they absolutely are. And when I've done like phobia sessions here at the park, never done a huge amount, but I've always used jumping spiders as like, look at photos and look at look at jumping spiders, look at videos of Lucas the spider,
Yep,
and stuff that things like that really really help, and people start because they have that appearance of being cute and stuff. They've got the big eyes and stuff.
yep.
People do see them as cute, and then it kind of breaks that barrier down and starts breaking it down. I think a few people use jumping spiders to get over or to help with their arachnophobia and stuff, and they think
it's the front legs, isn't it? It's the front legs and the pedipalps constantly wiping themselves, and then the front legs, and they move like an 8-bit computer game. They're funny, but people forget they do give a bit of a bite if they nip you. That hurts.
Oh, the only spider I've ever been bitten by was a Hydus dardi. It's pretty good. It years ago it jumped out of its enclosure, and I just instantly grabbed it with my hand because I was like, if I don't, it's just going to go. So it's like, it bit me on the finger. I was like, oh, that actually really, really pinched and stuff. That was it, and it was purely because it was very scared because suddenly I've grabbed it. Predator grabbed it. What's it going to do? It's going to defend itself. So but I was like, that's my own fault. I think
they've got
for such a small spider. It was like, yeah, that was some good pressure there.
Yeah, I think the trouble, the only downside is when people keep them and they panic too much. That their introduction, it's all this like people have been told for some reason to keep them at 26 degrees. So it's always people buying them. You see the heat match thermostats and all this on these jumping spiders. It's like they're absolutely fine with all the other spiders. Like I think there's so much panic about. You see these setups worth like over £100 for their new nymphs jumping spider. It does seem like people worry too much, and I think I did when I first got into it. I panicked so much because you read all the care sheets, and the care sheets do not help at all. They make you stress because they make you worry that you haven't got it set up. How do I measure this? How do I measure that? Then someone tells you, oh, those humidity gauges don't really work properly, and then you start panicking about that because you need to find one that does work. And then ultimately you realise you don't blooming need one.
But totally. I mean, those humidity dials, they are not worth that people pay for them.
No,
so it is a waste of a few quid and stuff because they will tell you nothing. They literally will tell you nothing. So they are a complete waste of money. Those things. If you want to know humidity, get yourself a data logger or a good hydrometer probe kind of thing. But even then, it's just don't really need it. Especially in the UK, we're actually quite humid.
Yeah, I mean, this room sits at around 50% anyway.
That's it.
Like just the room. So it's probably me being quite moist human being, I suppose. But no, the room sits about 50% anyway. Captive.
Look at Captain Red Scorpions of all Black Beauties sick and sex this year. You'll definitely find Captain Red Black Beauties around. Really interesting sick and set the Paraphasma because they're critically endangered, mainly because they only got like a 6-hectare site in the wild, and that's it.
Wow!
But that is just their habitat.
All right.
They're up one mountain, and that's it. And I think so. They're critically endangered because they just don't have much of a sort of a territory kind of thing.
Cool. The Marshalli. My Marshalli is my most menacing spider I have. I think my Marshalli's more of a menace than my featherleg.
Russell's got female P Regis. That's over 2 years old now. That is awesome.
That's good going for a female. That's good going for our male. Our male, we thought it was on its way out last week. I didn't think he would see the week out, and then he actually ate a locust, and now he's cohabiting with a locust at the moment. They both want to leave each other alone, so I don't know what he's doing. But He's about. I got him at Taunton as a sort of. I think it was an L3, L4. They normally sell them at, don't they? So I got him at Taunton, and he's still going. So he might make a year. Hope he does.
I've got a female Phidippus octopunctatus.
Right. Okay.
The Gothic jumping spider.
Yeah.
That's what the shop called it. I got it from the Manchester show. Lee knew what he was doing. He came with like, "So you want to see some jumping spiders?" I called him the Gothic one. I was like, "Oh, you." I was like, "You know what you're doing." No, I've now got.
They know their market. They know their market.
So he knows exactly what he's doing. So I was like, every now and then he'll message me, be like, "Phil, got some awesome beetles coming in." I was like,
"Oh,
stop making me spend money."
I forgot Steve won that Hellraiser enclosure. That's going to be amazing. The Marshalli RA, amazing looking. My Marshalli is really strange, right? It's got this nice big enclosure and a nice piece of cork bark and a starter burrow. And what it's done right in the corner of its enclosure is it's dug down, but it didn't do that at the start. It's made like a web chimney right in the corner to the lid. And it literally lives in this little tube right in the corner.
Yeah.
Won't move. But it has, because it's done it in the corner, I did actually see it molt over the weekend. I was on a live while it was molting, and it's successfully come out of that. It hasn't kicked its molt out yet, but it's got a nice big enclosure, doesn't use any of it. Exactly what Dave was saying about some spiders today when he loaded his video up, but strange things. Yeah.
Blackbees are so cool. The little red wings, they are a really cool species. It's just be aware of black bees. They can spray. It really tickles when they spray it straight up your nose. I've experienced that. Okay. Whenever I've been sprayed, it never really affected me apart from it really tickled and one spray me straight up the nose. And they don't always spray, but yeah, just be aware that they do spray sometimes.
The Sun Gaias that Ants Rambling Paul gifted me a little while back. I had them in a 10 by 10 by 15. They're currently in their 15 by 15 by 20, and I'm going to have to rehouse them this week into a bigger enclosure. They have just grown like weeds.
Yeah, they grow quickly. So
can't wait for them to start breeding. I believe from what I was on a chat with someone who has an awful lot of stink insects, and he said that it looks from the photographs. We did some video and some photographs that I've got 2 females and a male. So I know they're parthenogenetic anyway, but having 2 females and a male is nice because at least I've got the opportunity for them to breed properly as well. So
that's it. If you end up not having a male, I'll have males. I can always get you a male. So, but they're a really cool species. I mean, I remember years ago, the only Sun Gaia in Spectator you could get were just kind of beige in colour and purely parthenogenetic. There were no males in the hobby. And then what was sort of called the lowland, which are the darker ones with the stripe down. Yeah, they've sort of come out. They started and then they've kind of took over and become popular. And I know at some point there is a bright green one that's due to come over to the UK.
All right, okay.
So another wild morph, and it's bright green. So yeah, they're a really good species. If anyone that wants stick insects, so they're handle, they don't get huge. It's nice. Russell got his some guys courtesy of Leah and his pets.
They do like to grow though.
He's in 30 by 30 by 30 at the moment. Sounds good. And Diane is now addicted to stick insects. I was, but I've cut down a lot on my stick insects just because going out to find the food plants was becoming a real hassle. Very glad that I did now because round here it's a real hassle to now try and find it because most of it got killed off. Let me put on a big screen for that. So much of the food plants around they got killed off. So yeah, that's a male.
Waving. Yeah, these are cool. Like I really like these, and they're getting quite big. This is more for the benefit of Mr. Ants Rambling, I know he's wanted to see how big these things were getting. But yeah, that's the male. The male tends to sit at the front of the enclosure, and the 2 females tend to sit near the back.
Yeah, I like they are nice species. They are really nice species.
Beautiful little things. Absolutely beautiful.
And again with stick insects, it's the same thing that they're just a nice one because they're fairly, as stick insects go, they're fairly basic.
Yep.
And stuff and easy to look after. But again, with stick insects, they're just so complex and stuff. I remember again years ago, Arthropoda from Paris. At one of the shows because they always used to come when they were able to come over.
Yeah.
All sorts of stick insects and mantis and stuff that you just don't see in the UK, and that they breed. And they had one species that looked absolutely stunning. I can't remember what species it was, and I was just like, how the hell, going through the language barrier because I mean their English is much better than my French. There's something much better. I kind of think that was like, oh, sorry, no, your English is better than my French. But it turned out I was like, what are these ones? Looking after these ones, are they same as whatever? And it turned out that when it came to them laying eggs, that I'd have to put the eggs in the freezer for about 3 months and then set them on fire to hatch them out. And I went, yeah, no, I'll forget that.
That seems a bit extreme.
and that's what they were having to do to hatch these eggs out because where they come from naturally they freeze in the wild and then they go through a bushfire. And it's like, yeah, they need to be frozen and then be burnt to get them to hatch out. I was like, yeah, no, that's too complex.
It's crazy though, because even those, they are possibly one of the most stressful animal I've got in the room because everything else I know I can just feed. The millipede, I can chuck a bit of veg in there. Like the sunbeetle, chuck a bit of veg in there. And whatever else I've got, as long as those things, it's like, oh yeah, go and get some bramble. Okay, I'll go and get some bramble. Oh, you do know we've got over 400 types of bramble in the UK. Oh, that's probably one that they're not eating this one or this one or this one or this one. It's like, what? So there's me hunting around for a different one. Finally found one they like. The neighbours think I'm absolutely crazy because whenever I go down this little bit to find this one bush that they like, I'm down there in the middle of the day cutting bits off of it, and I've got people staring out the windows at me like, what is he doing in that field? But yeah, they were a right stress to start with.
Oh no, absolutely. Well, I mean, again, yeah, when I used to have lots of insects, and going from Arthropodia, I'd have to wean them off French bramble,
right?
Yeah. UK bramble. So, I used to bring over some bramble as well, and give you like a nice big stick of bramble kind of thing. And most people are like, oh, I don't know, I got loads of them. And it's like, no, you want that because that's what they're used to. You want to wean them off that.
And that's why people say,
some guys do like ivy. They will eat ivy as well.
But they say, don't they?
Ivy mainly.
If you're going to have ivy and you're going to have the bramble and you're going to have privet, because I know some of them eat privet as well, don't they? But
some do.
Put a little bit of each in there, so then you can, if you want to wean them over to the ivy, then sort of put a little bit in, but keep the bramble. So don't just change straight away because they tend to struggle with the changeover.
Yeah, you can actually. And I'd done that again many years ago. Didn't realise that and killed off a whole load of insects because their gut flora just was not used to that food plant.
Yeah.
So it's always good to put a little bit in just for a week or so, let them nibble it, and then they'll get gut flora, get used to it. Sort of thing. Or unless you rear them up with, changing the food plant quite regularly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a lot of people think it's a case of not liking it. It's not just that. It's like you say, it's their gut. They have to get used to the actual food they're consuming.
That's it. There you go, Dad. And so, and again with ivy, there's different types of ivy.
Well, yeah, I don't even get the amount of plants. Plants are a whole nother thing as well. It's just I'm terrible at keeping plants. I've got some plants that in this room that I'm actually happy. I've managed to keep the pothos alive, but I've got money plants and stuff like that are just constantly.
If you can't keep pothos alive, then plants are definitely not for you.
No, exactly. Yeah, I was sort of celebrating the fact I've managed to keep some green for a few months, and that's fine, But I used to work in a garden centre as a young guy before I started a full-time job, and you wouldn't notice it now because I can't keep any plants alive really. That's probably why I don't work at the garden centre anymore.
But pothos definitely. Whenever someone asks about what plant, it's always like get pothos because that's the best one to start with.
The other one I was looking at, which I probably will put in with my Sturmy, is the tiny little. They're like almost like the not. I can't even think of the name now. It's not Wandering Dew. It's the other one. It looks like little coins, little tiny coins, like creeping
You're
fig.
about ficus, the little ficus,
Maybe.
creeping
Sort
fig.
of, yeah, it goes along the ground. It sort of makes almost like a big planted, almost like moss type looking thing, isn't it? Yeah, I thought that might be quite good because they can survive in relatively low light. So where I haven't got too much sunlight or anything on this wall, with the Sturmy on it, it might make a nice.
They're pretty good as well. Yeah, if you're talking about the little creeping fig ficus, you get like the sunny white that's the variegated, so have the white edges to the leaves and stuff, and they'll creep on the ground and will climb as well.
Mm.
So yeah, they're quite good. Yeah, sort of too. I've got in one of my sort of larger terrariums. That again, yeah, it's one that I planted up a while ago when I done the first. Was it my first MK Exotics video? Yeah, I think it was. And stuff, and it's just been settling in and stuff because I like to let it settle in, go through the mold stage.
Yeah.
And stuff, have all the mold die off, and then start adding things into it soon. So, nice. Which, my 80 millipedes are probably going to go in there. Stuff along with potentially some beetles and different isopods, and do a bit of a mixed thing going on.
Yeah, we set up the Cresties bioactive. I think it was 2 months before we got the Cresty for the enclosure, and it definitely made a hell of a difference doing it that way round than just setting it up and shutting straight in.
Absolutely does. That's because doing live planted bioactive, whatever you call it, you got to treat it like an aquarium, and people don't always they forget or don't realise that there's a nitrogen cycle that has to go on and stuff, and everything's got to settle in, and if you plant it up and then just shove stuff in there, everything's out of whack.
So even just the things like with when you put the plants in, a lot of plants require a lot more wetting down when they're getting used to, like when they're first planted, and some of the animals won't take too well to that humidity spike that you're putting in there because of it.
Yeah, that's it as well. And it also allows you to dial in the parameters and stuff. Because sometimes when doing like live planted, you actually sometimes you got to get it right for the plants first.
Yep.
And then you dial it in to get it right for the animals and stuff. And often means certainly like with the dart frog side of things, often actually it's normally the dart frogs are second. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened in the dart frog community a lot of times, that people, especially the people that are really into it, they do like a big planted setup, and it's actually a set of plants. And then they went, actually, this is perfect for dart frogs as well, and I can have something to watch. So I think because some of the dart frog people, they spend some serious money on their plants.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Serious money on their plants. So I see some setups and they've spent thousands just on plants.
Yeah, I used to be quite into my fish, and it was like I didn't own many like fish myself. We've got a big pond, and then we had an aquarium, but some of the money you could spend on those fish are a whole nother ball game, like thousands and thousands, and then you get into marine, like the marine tank.
I'm so glad I never got into marine stuff. Like the amount of money that Victoria has to spend on her marine tanks, I'm like, oh my god.
Nah, I think the closest I get to keeping anything marine would be go and see it in the sea. Yeah, go and dive.
Just perhaps I'll keep it have a heart attack.
It's even the fact with the salination, and then literally just keeping those parameters 100% dialed in, and the money you have to spend to keep those things dialed in, like growing coral and growing anemone and things like that, like unbelievable what you have to do. Just crazy. That's why, like I say, those things I'll just save to actually go and scuba and see the things in the wild. That does. I'm not keeping them at home. Too much hassle.
Yeah, go see them there or at a public aquarium. That's set up and stuff. I mean, that's why a friend of mine, he used to be a manager of an aquatic shop. He's now completely like self-employed, who just does basically going around setting up marine setups and maintaining them for people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Big money in that.
yeah, big money. He's got some of his clients have some serious money.
Oh, you see,
Um,
some of the setups are unbelievable, and you only have to. There was those shows, wasn't there? Some of the TV shows that literally where people just go and set up tanks for the celebrities. You can see there's an awful lot of
well,
investment in
the
it.
Tanked, wasn't it? Tanked in America.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is slightly on a smaller scale, but even then, it's still like the technology that the marine sector has. I mean, it's coming into the reptile and then the invert sector, but like he can see all the parameters of some of his customers' tanks from his phone from wherever he is in the country.
Wow.
Kind of thing, and literally be like, oh, it needs a dose of this. Press a button on his phone and it doses whatever and stuff.
I presume. I
And then
presume
goes
you.
over like once a month to just check the system and go, yeah, okay, cool, that's all done. Stuff, and does it all from his phone from wherever he is.
I presume you've seen it, but I think there was a documentary recently on the Colombia. They've got the largest aquarium in the world, or the largest rainforest setup in the world. One of the things, but in their aquarium they've got it looks unbelievable out there. Absolutely, I'll send you the link if you haven't got it. I'll find it for you. I was just sitting there amazed by it. They've got all like these huge, like proper rainforest set up with all their piranhas in there and stuff. Oh, it's unbelievable. But they've spent that thing is just mind blowing. You wouldn't believe it. I will find the link because I know Victoria will like it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I think that's one of my best experiences, actually.
Best public aquarium to visit. In terms of the UK, well, I've only ever been to the UK ones, but for me, my top ones are probably the Deep, Blue Planet, National Marine Aquarium. They're probably the top three for me from ones that I've visited. But like even like the sea life sites I've been to have all been great.
The Deep one looks brilliant. I saw the video on that the other day. That looked really good.
Oh, the Deep's fantastic. The Deep is absolutely fantastic. And it's different to a lot of the other aquariums, which is nice.
I was actually talking to someone the other day about the
Springtails. I might be able to take some more springtails to seas. See, they're doing well.
I'm gonna try and find this photo. It came up on a memory.
I may be able to bring some moss, Diana.
Find this photo. It came up on a memory the other day, and I sort of missed doing this, but it came up, and I was like, oh,
cheers, Tron. Right, and cheers for joining. Thank you very much.
That's one of my photos.
Ooh, nice.
Literally took me about 40 minutes to get that photo of that bloody thing. They're not the most friendly of animals, that's for sure. But that was I do miss going and doing that on a regular basis. But that moray was huge. Its head was probably the size of my head. Massive thing.
Absolutely massive.
Some of the animals in the sea, it's like the predators and stuff like that. You see, like I think lionfish are one of the. If you like predatory animals in the water, lionfish are definitely the ones. Like those things will hunt, especially if you're in the water with them. They you night dive and you go out with your torch, and then these things they'll be by your fins, and as soon as you point the torch at a fish, they'll hone in and literally use your light beam and go and hunt the poor bloody fish you're looking at. Evil things, but yeah, that was good. The aquarium stuff, I brought it all back.
I mean, they're amazing. I mean, I used to keep tropical freshwater fish when I was living with my parents, but it's the same old thing. I had a whole bunch of reptiles, a whole bunch of inverts, and then all of a sudden I had like 6 aquariums. If you got that kind of addictive sort of nature, any kind of this sort of thing is so addictive to do, whether it be tarantulas, scorpions, whatever it is, and stuff. You see it in all, the multi-tank syndrome, as sort of the aquarium sort of hobby normally calls it and stuff, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Like always looking, for things I was out with Victoria the other day, and popped the bike shop just trying to get some RO and some salt water, and they're like, oh, have you seen this tank? Do you want to get this tank as well? And it's all like, oh,
Yeah, it's the trouble, isn't it? It's just once you've got the setup for one, it's very easy to make that setup for two or three. It's honestly, it was similar when we were fostering the dogs originally. We were like, oh look, buying the feed for one dog. When you got two or three, it makes no difference. So putting a fourth into the mix, it makes no difference because you've already got feed in three. The fourth one's not. It gets cheaper the more you end up getting per head. And it's the same with the spiders. It's like, what's the point in buying like a tub of mealworms or a tub of dubia for one spider, and then most of the things it's like, get two spiders, three spiders.
So it's cheaper to feed 20 spiders than it is to feed one.
Yep, per head
but
count.
It's more cost effective, and it's more
exactly. Definitely not cheaper, but more cost effective. Yeah,
more cost effective. Like, it completely is, and it's all like because go out and buy a tub, and crickets are going up in price as well. It's all like you're talking like. I don't know what. I think nowadays most days going to be like now maybe like £3 a tub or something.
Yeah.
But if you've got one spider, those crickets are dead by the time you've used them all. Sort of thing.
Locusts
like 10, 20, you can use up the whole tub, and then cool. I don't have to buy any more. Especially if you got your bigger spiders, or anything that's decent size. Go cool. Don't have to buy any more now for a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever your feeding schedule is.
I saw an advert came up on Facebook for a mealworm pod thing, and it was these. I don't know if you've seen it, but these hexagonal trays for the mealworm breeding.
I've seen that advertisement. And it's all like that seems like a lot of over engineering, and that's a lot of money. Something that you can do with
a plastic tub,
or if you want to do it, slightly larger, they cost what was it, 10 or whatever, the just plastic drawers you can get with those or whatever.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like I started doing the plastic drawers and separating out the beetles and the eggs and all this and whatever. And now I just don't bother, and I get enough eggs, enough babies in the one tray. As long as I sift through it and take a bit of frass out every now and then and replace it with, and they've got food, they don't need it. But that I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh, this might be quite nice. It looks quite nice, these pods. And then I saw the price, and I was like, "It looks nice, but yeah,
it's
£80 for 3 trays."
I mean, considering like all the big breeders, how they breed them is just in box standard plastic trays.
Yeah, exactly. That's
how they breed them. I've literally been to one of the big, one of the big wholesalers, and actually, what a lot of it was just basically big cat litter trays.
Yeah. The only thing they were trying to sort of like selling point on these bug factory ones were the carbon filters in the lids because it stops the smell. Honestly, I don't know if I've just got a bad nose. I know it's been broken a few times, but I don't smell them anyway. So I don't know.
If they smell, you're not keeping them right.
No, exactly. That's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem with most animals.
That's the thing with a lot of things. If they smell bad, there's something else going on there.
Yep, exactly.
They're overcrowded. They're heating up too much, or you put food in there that's gone off and stuff.
I found it quite interesting though, because I used to have my mealworms in a tub with a lid on it, and it had like a big mesh cutout on the top so it didn't get too humid in there and stuff. And the amount of frass that was thrown out and dust everywhere was crazy. I took the lid off, and I've never put it back on again, and they don't kick up the dust anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just literally an environmental change to let the humidity out, and they're much happier. They don't tend to kick it about as much and things like that. So
absolutely. So there we go. Jeremy is making me a colony, but I'll be doing 2 of those case. That's right. Thinking about orange springtails. So because you mentioned it, I thought, I might be able to pop a few up. I think. So, Steve W saw that today. Yeah, it's one of those targeted things, isn't it? Targeted advertising. We're all searching for inverts and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, you might be interested in this. It's like,
they definitely know what they're doing on Facebook these days. I'm sure we'll all get it at some point. That Bug Factory advert.
Yeah, definitely. If it's not the same, it's most probably the same one I've seen. I've seen one very, 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 very similar.
where it had the pupa tray in the middle, and like you moved the
I
little
didn't
tong.
like click onto it, but it looked like a white hexagonal plastic thing and stuff, and I was like, "What? No."
It did make me chuckle. It's worth it, Steve. If you get a chance, honestly, you'll enjoy watching the video they've got on their site, because when you watch it and they've got these little tiny plastic tongs and they say pick up the pupa with the tongs and put the it's like, if I see a pupa, I'm picking it up with my hand. I haven't got time to start messing around tong picking up every single one out there to move them to anywhere.
And some of those, because again, one of the big wholesalers, they literally employ people to sit there with just tweezers with tongs, holding the beetle and individually picking eggs out and putting them down, and that's all they do all day.
No way.
For minimum wage. Hey, Thomas.
Wow.
And stuff. We're just like,
hey, Thomas.
What? So
I'm sure some cannibalism does happen. I'm sure they do. So I do lose a few eggs, but literally leaving them all. I've got 3 tubs, and they're all in different tubs, and they get enough food. I don't tend to notice that I'm running out of babies or anything. So.
Oh dear, Leah. Oh dear.
Yeah, I bet you're not really concerned. You mean your bank balance is concerned?
I remember Leopard Gecko reviewed on them a few years back. Oh, fair enough.
Oh, right, okay. She's quite good. She's been away from the scene for a little while. She did make a thing the other day. Actually, said she's coming back to making videos. She's had a few things going on, so I do enjoy the Leopard Gecko videos, to be honest.
It's a good channel. I've watched a few videos of hers. Pretty sure I've met her as well, actually, because she does all the voiceover stuff for Arcadia now as well.
Right. Okay. She did a good video. The one that I first noticed her from was the one about the cost of living, and trying to put it into perspective. People panicking, and it was when all the beardies were being reported as like down on the moors and stuff being let out, and it was the fact that people were panicking about the cost. And what she was trying to explain was, you've always been paying something. You've got to work out what the increase is. It's not what its total cost is now. It's what the increase is, because you'd probably be surprised, because no one's ever looked before, because it wasn't sort of constantly in your face. People were happy to spend a tenner a month on it, and it's now only costing you £14 maybe. But people go, £14? I haven't got full. Yeah. Forgetting that they were already paying their £10 a month or whatever it was. I know that the numbers are not quite right, but it was the fact that when she explained it, the increase actually wasn't that high.
As much as I think.
Yeah. And
well,
she's got
well, Chaz Snakes and Ladders, he tried to break it all down, and like he worried out that something like to keep a bearded dragon or whatever, it costs you more a day to boil your kettle 6 times.
Yeah. Our beardies, like, even with the halogen bulb, it's like we know that that's probably one of the cheaper things we've got in the house that's costing us electricity wise.
It can be more expensive to leave your TV on standby.
And if you do panic much, I mean, Chris, I'll give credit to Chris, because Chris gave me a link for this Amazon plug that you plug in what your kilowatt per hour cost is, and then you plug that into the wall, plug your appliance into that, and it gives you a running total. And I've had my oil-filled radiator in here, which is a 2,000 watt oil-filled radiator. It's on not all the time. I've got it on timer, so it comes on and off at various points, which isn't the most efficient way of having them running, because once they get to heat, they stay there. But honestly, it is. It hasn't cost me as much as anywhere near I thought it would. It's actually been quite cheap. I think I've had it on for 3 months, and it's worked out about £40 for 3 months. So
yeah, that's not too bad, really.
No, I'm happy with that, especially as it's keeping me nice and warm in here. I can sit in a t-shirt in January.
That's it. But there is a benefit to keeping these sorts of animals. And so
everyone else in the rest of the house is sitting there in a coat, but I'm all right.
Yeah. My flat's always fairly warm, because I keep my room heated to around sort of 23 degrees sort of thing. And it's always just ticking over all the time. I'm very rarely cold up here. So the only rooms that get cold are my bathroom and my kitchen, because there's no animals in those. But otherwise, my bedroom's always, a comfortable temperature, and my living room's always a comfortable temperature.
Oh, no worries, Paul.
These guys use less electricity this period than they did last year.
Yeah, people are more conscious of it, so people are tending to be a little bit
I'll
tighter.
just go and see you next time.
See you later, Paul. They've what they've done is
Bye, mate.
they reckon at the moment, I don't know if you've sort of heard this, but the wholesale gas price at the moment has actually dropped down really low. At the peak of the crisis, it was, I think it was 500 per therm, whatever a therm is, that's the unit they use. But it's currently now down at 155. And they're saying the reason it's gone down so much is because the demand has dropped through the floor because everyone's just stopped using gas. And we've had quite a mild December. And so all of a sudden they're like, we've got a load of gas we need to sell. So they've just dropped but we haven't seen the price our end drop, but the wholesale cost has definitely dropped.
It always takes a while, and unfortunately, we know that all the companies are going to
milk it as long as they can.
Record profits and stuff. Like, oh yeah, and you're like, so it's going to be the way. But fortunately, not a huge amount that us as individuals can really do about that.
No. You need someone big needs to step in and make them do something, but I doubt that'll happen.
No,
it is what it is. You just cut. You go.
That's it. And you've got to sort of grin and bear it sometimes. But yeah, and the thing is, sometimes surprising how much you can save just by turning like a thermostat down 2 degrees. Which you don't notice. The animals probably ain't going to notice.
One of the things we did was we adjusted our hot water. We had turned that down a couple of there was 5 settings and we had it on, I think it was 4. We turned it down to I think 2, maybe 3. But literally the hot water was, when you have the hot water on full, it was too hot to be underneath. And it's like, well, there's no need for it to be that hot then. You might as well turn the whole thing down a little bit. And that saved us a fortune. Absolutely saved us a fortune. But it's been on that other heat thing for like 20 years. Shows how much I've wasted over the years.
That's it. And it's those small things. Sometimes I think that's actually what they'll save you more money than getting rid of a bearded dragon.
Yeah, and it was crazy seeing those animals like just literally put in boxes or let loose out, and it's just people went absolutely nuts, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, those sort of people, they're not real true animal lovers and true hobbyists and stuff often.
No,
because if you are a true one, you'll sacrifice other things for your animals.
Yeah, and even if you do get into that terrible dire straits situation, if you're a true animal lover, you are going to try and find a home for it or a shop.
That's it. There's plenty of avenues. It says, you got it says of reptiles, the National Centre for Reptile Welfare in Kent. They've got people up and down the country that they can contact, for rehoming reptiles and stuff. I will say to people, often zoos cannot take animals.
Yeah.
We do. Every zoo gets a lot of emails due to regulation stuff. We often cannot take them. Some will advise. I tend to try and advise if I can, but some won't. But it's normally best not to contact a zoo.
Yeah.
Because they'll, most will just say no, we can't help you. And so, but good shops will, they will help, and reptile societies and stuff, things like that. And again, with the inverts, there's been such a marked increase of people getting inverts, so there's going to be people that will happily take on inverts.
Yeah, I know that. Like this, like the place near me, obviously they buy in collections if people do struggle to keep their collections or have to sell up or things like this. I know she's bought a few collections in recently. She's got some stunning spiders in at the moment that are, some of them I've never even heard of, genuses and species within that genus I've never even heard of, and they're absolute crazy spiders in there. So yeah, she's got some good stuff in there. I've had to be very, very careful over Christmas with not sort of losing my house over some of these spiders, because there's some of the avics, like, oh my god, like I've never even heard of some of them. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's nice when those sort of collections come in. It's a shame for the owner that has to give them up.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's awesome to be able to sort of see these ones, and some of them are quite a good size as well. Like, very, very large juvies and stuff as well. So when you get ones that size that obviously been looked after and they're in good health, you're getting a good bargain with some of those. I'm sure.
And at least those people, went down the right route at least as well. So
yeah, exactly.
just dump the animals outside or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, I've got for instance here, well, one up here, one I donated, but actually unfortunately has now passed away. But we don't know how old it was. Which is the Caribbean University colour, and then I've got the Albob up here that were found in a house clearance. So they were just abandoned.
Oh wow!
And so the people that came in to clear the place then just found 2 tanks with tarantulas, and they're like, what do we do with these?
Yeah, I suppose the only saving grace with them is as far as going for however long that is without food, possibly isn't a problem. Obviously, heat might be temperature-wise. They do hunker down a little bit, but
enough it was like
something that needed feeding every day.
Yeah, long enough it was during the summer and stuff, and the guys were like around, like we have no clue what we're doing with these kind of thing. But one was like, I'm scared of them.
Yeah. I know someone who they were doing a house clearance, and there was 2 beardies that were there in one of the cupboards, and they hadn't been fed for a couple of weeks and were looking pretty bad, to be honest, because they hadn't had any power, light, or anything. And unfortunately, one of them had quite not so much terrible. It wasn't the MBD that was the issue. It was the fact that looked like the previous owners had actually abused it a little bit, and it had quite a few multiple breaks and stuff. And just luckily that this woman's actually managed to rehab it and rehouse and look after it, and it's doing really, really well. She's made this manufacture this little skateboard almost for it, so it can move around the house when it wants to and stuff. But stories like that they do my head in. They absolutely do my head in. There's no need for it when there are so many people out there who are willing to take animals on and help in any way they can. There is no need for abandonment.
No, that's it. And unfortunately, and unfortunately, it's often reported about quite a lot in terms of when it comes to reptiles and stuff. But unfortunately, it happens in every single pet industry. People abandon dogs all the time and stuff, which is arguably more common. People abandon those, or cats and stuff, but that's not reported out because it's so common.
We foster dogs, so we're known around here as the failed fosterers. We fostered dogs for about 15 years, and one of the centres near me was owned. It was an independent, so it wasn't a big charity one. It was an independent kennels. And I used to go there and walk some of her dogs for her, and that's how it got started. And then we started sort of when she had too many in the kennels, we took on the excess in the house. So we ended up with like 2 or 3 over Christmas periods while she was trying to get them rehomed. And then we were like, well, we've had this one a month now. We've really grown attached to it, so we'll pay the adoption fee and keep that. And we ended up with 8 dogs at one point.
Wow.
What was crazy was we had like a purebred Labrador that, very expensive dog and a beautiful dog, and literally was given up, like for no reason. The fact that the owner was just like, no, I just don't like it, so just put it in this home. So we got a phone call, would you mind looking after this for a few weeks? And it's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Took her on board, and Roxy's still here. She's one of our ones we've sort of adopted and kept. We're down to 3 now. But the amount of people that do it's just absolutely crazy. The amount of people that will spend £2,000 to £3,000 on a dog and then just give it up. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Right? It's crazy. It's like we had I think I showed the photo before of Kath sitting with one of the mastiffs that we had. I'll see if I can find it quickly. But this one was given up just because they were moving to a new house or having their house redecorated, and they decided that they didn't want the dog ruining their new decorations, so they gave it up. Very, very odd. Where is it? I think I've got it on here. I just don't.
Just shows that they didn't really have much of a care for the animal, because
I think it was an excuse. I think it was eating them out of house and home. Small one.
But even so,
but that was the most beautiful dog. Absolutely the most beautiful dog. we had her for a good few months, like before she got rehoused. But yeah, we actually ended up doing like a lot of the home checks on a lot of the people because we were like, okay, we know the centre's done the home checks, but Jill used to say to us, did we want to go and check it out to make sure we were happy that the dog was going to a good home and stuff like that. But that dog was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Used to part the seas at the school pickup, that's for sure. All the mums used to like move away.
I've got a massive dog coming through, but sometimes the big ones are the loveliest ones as well. Though sometimes,
the best temperament.
Sometimes that's it. You get sometimes a bad rep, but it's like actually they're really really cool. But,
I know it's not entirely true, but they say, what is it? There's never a bad dog. It's always a bad owner. I know it's not 100% true all the time, but there is an awful lot of truth behind that statement. You know.
Well, it's the same as going. I tend not to say there's no such thing as an aggressive animal. There's defensive animals.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's also back to the spiders. It's very much the same thing. It's like if you give a spider incorrect parameters, it's going to have the ump. It's going to be more defensive with you than if it's 100% satisfied in its environment and feels safe. So I don't think it's like, I don't think there's any difference really with any of them, really. And I think
that's why like OBTs get such a bad reputation often. I find it's because people just go in too smaller enclosures and take a lid off, and it rips off some of that webbing. And to me, it's like me being in bed and someone coming up and ripping the covers off me. I'm going to be angry.
Yeah,
I'm going to be defensive.
100%.
Sort of thing, or I think Tom Moran's even said it as well. It's just like, that's good. You see in the living room, someone rips off your roof.
Yep.
And you're going to be like, hey, what the hell?
That's one of the things with my like the Marshalli. It's like it's webbed up to the roof on that thing. So it's like what I did was I just gave it a deeper tub, so the next time it hasn't quite got to the lid of where it was, and so you're not disturbing it as much.
That's it. And it's just doing those things like, that's where like then my OBTs are, are so calm. I never really see any kind of defensive postures or and stuff because they'd rather just go into their highs, their burrows or whatever.
Yeah.
And stuff where they know I'm there and stuff, and they'll just move on nice and calmly.
The RCF that I've got, what I've done is I've purposely made all I've given it like 2 options with the cork bark at the back, and I've anchored them in such a way that every time I go into the enclosure, because I'm going in from the front, its environment is set back away from where I'm disturbing. So that's the sort of thing I look at, is I try and sort of think, well, where am I going to be interfering with this? And then I'll set their safety spots and their environments, their hides, whatever, so that in the least disturbed point of the tank,
Absolutely. And that's all part of that planning process and understanding your species and stuff, where you can avoid stressing it out too much.
Yeah.
So,
and that's
doesn't stress you out so much either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Happy spider, happy life.
That's it. That's it. So what we haven't actually discussed yet is why you decided to start doing YouTube.
Yeah. Sort of. Well, it's not really Scott's fault, but I've always enjoyed like messing around with editing and stuff like that. Like I used to make like years ago, I used to make like BMX DVDs. We used to go to skate parks around the country and stuff like that, and like I would film on my old camcorder. I had one of the ones that you sort of hold from above, and it had the big fisheye lens, and I could sort of skate along the BMXs and stuff like that and get really good footage. And then I used to have to come home, load up my tapes via a FireWire connection into the laptop, which you could only play it at one time speed. So it would like literally the whole 2 hours to load it onto the computer. Then you'd have to have the space on the computer, and then you'd have to start editing on the software. It was awful. And then you'd have to write it back to the tape or write it to a DVD. And writing to a DVD was like a new thing back then. But I used to enjoy doing that, and I really, really loved it. It was like, I think Adobe Premiere 1 or 2 that I was using back then. It's like, really enjoyed it. But then obviously I stopped doing that. And then when I started keeping these, and I was sort of watching the YouTube videos, I'm like, I quite like some of these. I quite like the way these are done. And then I was chatting to Scott about it, and he's like, you should do, if you enjoy doing the editing, you should do a channel. And I was like, I could do, but it's not going to be the most interesting because all I'm doing is like showing what I'm doing. And then I realized it's like, well, I'm not doing it for anyone else. I mean, even though I really appreciate any support I get, any and every subscriber, anyone who watches, anyone who likes, anyone who comments, anyone who gets involved in any of my videos. I massively, massively appreciate it. But I still say that I do it for me because what I'm doing, and when I say that, I don't mean it like I don't care about other people. What I mean is it's my journey. So I'm just documenting because in a year's time, I can go back and look at some of those videos and go, oh, why did I do that like that? What on earth was I thinking back then? And it will help my education. Again, still learning, still keeping that learning process going, learning from my mistakes. How did I do this last time? What did I do? And I can look back on the videos and see, oh, I've got these stick insects or I've got that. And just basically a documentation of my journey, and sort of bringing people along with me whilst I do it. And I sort of take that a little bit from the way Mark does his stuff. Like you feel like you're sitting there in his room with him doing all his videos, trying to do that type of journey. You sort of be part of the video. The one thing I did want to make sure was I didn't want to sort of copy too many other channels. I wanted it to be my own. And one of those things was I wanted it to be a little bit more chaotic, which sounds a bit weird. But what I meant by that was most of my footage, if you watch my videos, I don't tend to use a tripod unless I'm rehousing. I will always have the camera in my hand. So it's a bit of like chaotic, like moving around with me because wherever my camera is, that's what I'm seeing at the time. So I think that like makes it a little bit sort of more personal to me because that's, I'm seeing it the way you're seeing it. So people can watch. It might give some people a headache with the camera flying around all over the place. But I find with this room, having a tripod, I'd either be in the way of the camera shot or I wouldn't be able to get to what I need to get to because the tripod and stuff would be in the way. So yeah, that's why I did it. I just enjoy the creative side of things and showcasing some of the spiders I've got. And people have left some really nice comments. So I'm obviously doing something right.
Oh no, definitely. I personally enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy the channel. And normally I'm watching like one of your videos during my lunch break at work or something on my TV or something, put it on or
nice
stuff in the morning. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put that on and watch that and stuff. And every single video I've seen of yours, I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Oh, thank you.
So it's been really, really good.
Well, that's the main thing. I do enjoy getting the feedback, and it's like, even if what I don't like is when I see someone dislike my video, I tend to get one dislike per video. And I know it's not a lot, but what I'd rather them do is I'd rather them say, didn't like this because blah, blah, blah. I'd rather have feedback than just a dislike because I don't learn anything from a dislike.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, dislikes work the same way as I like. It's all just interaction. So it doesn't affect that way, but sometimes it's just someone that they don't like tarantulas, so they just dislike it.
Yeah, I know that. It doesn't bother me.
You keep animals in captivity, so they just dislike it.
Yeah.
Right, sort of things like, well, actually, if you don't like it, you're probably better off doing nothing.
Exactly.
But
I put up a short, and I know the shorts get put out there to a completely different market effectively. So I expected a lot more negative reviews on that one, and I did. But with the actual videos, I mean, you've got to go hunting a little bit for the spider stuff. So if you don't like what you see, why on earth have you searched whatever you've searched? I'll be down there, Ian.
Yeah, I'll be going, Ian. I'll be there on the Amazing Reptile stand.
Ian's going to be working with Batmar again, isn't he, on that one, I think?
I would think so. I'm presuming Batmar's going to be there.
Yeah, I think I saw a post from the other day.
So, and then I was actually Inverse UK released the trade list for the Taunton show.
Right. Okay.
So,
I saw. Was it Dave? Has Dave got a? Is that the yeah, Dave's got
tables there, or at least a table. That's going to be a busy stand. That's going to be a busy stand.
You wonder whether it's worth him bothering taking live spiders down there or just doing autographs.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's all it is. It's going to be they're just gonna have tables. No
Photo,
side.
photo and autograph opportunity.
Photo
Yeah.
and autograph with Dave, and if you pay a little bit extra, you might get to meet Camera Lady. Sort of things.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going out
Oh,
Camera Lady too.
I wonder if he's got a table, whether or not Camera Lady will be there helping him.
That's it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes.
he's on the list. I'm on the list as myself.
Oh, right.
Well,
Okay. You've got your own table.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. It'll hopefully be just again with my parents, but yeah, a full table for my stuff.
Oh, brilliant. That's a good game.
Stuff. So yeah, this is what Phil has his own table.
Yeah. I'm looking.
Yeah, the waiting list for Seas is quite a list. We have tables of Seas and Taunton. Yeah, waiting list for Seas is a long list.
And it's strange though, that one, because the waiting list for Seas, but then you were there. You were there this year, weren't you? On 2022, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been to every single Seas.
You know the middle hall where they had the coffee and stuff like that, and I think that's where Andrew Smith was and doing his DVDs.
Yep.
There was a couple of empty tables there because Keeper Cards completely forgot that he'd got a table booked.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know they've got a waiting list, and then they ended up having a couple of empty tables. It was a bit of a shame, really. But
yeah, no, that was. And Project Seas used to be fantastic for because they'd have a lot of overseas traders come over, but obviously they can't come over anymore. And so what I'm looking forward to is hopefully, all being well, I'll have Andrew Smith's new documentary just before Seas, hopefully.
Yeah, I was sort of. I really do need to get the other ones. He's doing a special offer at the moment where you can buy a couple of them for reduced price if you get them all together. It's just a pain because when you try and add something to the basket, it doesn't. If you want to buy it rather than have a digital download, it takes you straight to the PayPal checkout, and it's like, no, I want to get the other one as well.
Yeah. But if it's I'll probably do a show special or something at Seas.
Yeah, I'll wait till Seas and get them because the ones he's got out there. Because I know that the box set for the Pelanobius comes with a real old documentary on there. The one that was done years ago. Is that the one you did the video on? The collective.
I've done a video on that one.
It's good. It's the one. Yeah, I think you did. I think it was on a plate. I think that's where I heard it from, and I was.
I've got all the DVDs. I've even got a DVD that not many people have.
Yes, that's the one and I think that's on the special edition. This is the thing I was thinking. It's the one that was filmed years and years and years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, the Pelanobius one's got the Desert Tarantulas documentary on which they've done 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So and stuff. But that's the great thing about his DVDs that people, some people go, oh, well, I'm paying, and they're not expensive, like tenner for first DVD. And you're like, yeah, but you're getting not only 1 3-hour documentary, and then getting another whole hour and a half to 3-hour second documentary added onto it as well.
And what is it for?
The amount of work that goes into these is insane.
And I think there was 2 of them for 15 quid. Two DVDs for 15 quid. It's seriously.
They're so worth it. And they don't feel as long as they say they are. Kind of thing. You're oh no, that was 3 hours long. It doesn't feel like 3 hours because you're just so engrossed in the information and the stories that he finds out about how they were discovered and this that the other. It is amazing. The first one done, which was the Lassiadora one, absolutely fantastic. And then that had a whole documentary of the BTS.
Oh right, okay.
On it, and then you got the Brachypelma one, and that's got a whole other, interviews with Mendoza and stuff out in Mexico.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
The Pokey one's is still on the Kickstarter, isn't it? So you were talking about it was Kickstarter, is it at the moment still? Because it's not up on the site yet.
I don't know if it's still on Kickstarter, but that's what I've done, which was
that's what the
Kickstarter pledged fairly quickly. Kind of thing, I definitely want to have this. And stuff because I've enjoyed every single one he's put out. And then, last time I saw him, I've managed to get a DVD from him. I think it was only a $5, and it's actually one of his BTS after dinner talks.
Ah, yes, the lectures thing. Yeah.
And he was he found 3 or 4 of them. I think I got it not the last Brighton show, but the Brighton show before that. I think.
Is that the one you've got signed?
And he was telling me he found 3 or 4 of them. There's not many of these out there. kind of thing.
It's weird
Even
because
that, it's fantastic to to have on in the background and watch sometimes.
it's really funny you say that because I literally on Saturday night had that video of you saying about that up on my thing on one of the playlists because sort of doing the hours thing, and it was up there, and it was you had the signed copy.
Yeah,
yeah. That was quite funny.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, the artwork that goes in, so much work goes into his documentaries and stuff like. There's so much,
Actually going and getting footage in the wild. The other person, it's a shame that we don't see enough stuff from at the moment. I think is it Martin Hustler, the Birds by the CH. He's part of Birds by the CH.
Oh yeah.
He goes off and does an awful lot of footage in the wild, but a lot of it doesn't sort of end up reaching very far. Like it doesn't seem to get out there as much at the moment. I don't know what he's doing, but I know he does a lot of describing, a lot of actual going out and recording things.
Yeah, he does a lot of that. And then I was listening because he does a podcast as well.
Yeah.
With Tarantula Cat.
Yeah, they're both world Tarantula. That's the one. Yeah, it's good.
He was doing released an update sort of episode. Was it before Christmas? I think.
Right. Okay.
Because obviously they haven't done nothing for
quite
some time. But he's in Europe, she's in America, so it's probably quite difficult to get the right sort of timings to be able to record episodes with each other and stuff. But yeah, no, he's really good. I think it was Mark actually. Yeah, probably was a show where I won like half the raffle. Probably was that Brighton show.
Did Steve win that one?
I don't think he was there.
Probably why then. So
literally, just came back with armfuls of stuff.
I'm just reading Ian's saying that his birthday is, I think, on the day of the London show. I presume that's 23rd of April. And then Steve's birthday is the day before. So I presume that's the 22nd. I'll tell you what, Steve, it's going to be a bit of a menace, that show then, because I said to Phil before we came live that I'm going to see Cannibal Corpse in London on the 22nd. So that will be a heavy night. So the Capital show is going to be an interesting one, if that's the case.
It might well be an interesting one. Might well be. Yeah, BTS is my birthday show because it's always after my birthday or sometimes on it.
Oh, nice.
So I always consider BTS as my birthday show, although there's also now the Weymouth show just before my birthday. Yeah,
it's like it's strange because my birthday falls on the same day as Scott's. We're both at the start of February, and so with obviously C's being the last weekend-ish of January, and then you've got Taunton sort of February. I know Taunton's at the end of February, but I sort of drag my birthday out almost to the Taunton show. So any spider I get that day can be a birthday present.
But then anything you buy at C's can be an early birthday present.
Oh, thanks, Steve. And by the way, Steve, yes, in answer to your text earlier, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, Steve, I don't think Steve will mind me saying, but Steve's asked me, and I was going to say yes, obviously, help him out on his stand at the Capital show if he gets the table, which I presume he has. So that'd be quite cool. I was saying the other week about wanting to do something from the other side and sort of see it from the sort of trader's side. It'd be quite a good little thing to do.
It is a different thing, sort of thing. Like, so I mean, I'm used to doing like the trading side, but it's actually going to be quite weird. Perhaps this year having my own individual table.
Yeah, realise how busy it can get.
That's it. So,
call me sir.
Call me sir.
I'll be calling you that quite a lot, I think.
Followed by another word, probably.
It'd be interesting, though. It'd be interesting. Connor made me chuckle, though, because I said to Connor earlier, like I said, was he coming to the Capital show, etc., etc. And I said, Steve has asked if I would, if I'm going and this and the other. And Connor said, you're going to brush up on your knowledge then, are you? I'm like, cheeky little sod. Obviously, it all depends on what Steve's selling.
Yeah. Maybe see if we end up giving like a quiz on the stuff or something.
Oh, don't. If it's isopods and scorpions, I'll be lost.
Oh, one note, Dawn of so you bring up breaks and stuff. Leah, hope you're still watching, Leah. I don't know if you've seen that for the Sheffield show. Apparently, hot drinks are going to be free for us traders, and there's even going to be a break room for traders.
Oh, what is that at the Ant Expo?
The great exhibition. Yeah,
Thomas did mention that, I think, on the live. He said that there's going to be a break room for the traders. He did mention that.
He's now officially announced. That's now official.
Oh, right.
She has 4 spare tickets to the Sheffield show. No one wants one. Okay.
Unfortunately, I would definitely take one, but the guy who I donated the ticket to is the guy I work with. So if he's going, I'm the only one at work. So, bit of a shame. Unless we can get someone to cover overtime, but then I wouldn't really. Yeah, we'll have to see. Be quite cool though. Hey, Max.
Yeah, that one's the beginning of February sort of thing.
Yeah,
hey,
it's the 11th, isn't it? I'll tell you what, those shows that he's doing, they're going to be ones to watch, I think, this year. Like from literally what you were saying the other day, the vision he's got and the fact he's got the council on board on one of them and all this stuff. It sounds like he's got proper plans and really does know what he's doing. Not just a case of let's just get a hall, let's get some tables in there. Like really, like making it
something a bit different, with talks going on and stuff, and some things are just being exhibited, so just there for display and stuff, and workshops and stuff. It's all like, it's nice that he's doing something a little bit different to all the others,
and you can tell he genuinely is so enthusiastic, isn't he? And that enthusiasm is always a good thing to have.
That's what you need. Yeah, that's what we need. And what's nice is that because something like that's kind of been tried before, but was tried almost too big to begin with, and no one was interested.
Yeah,
doing it a bit of a smaller way.
Yeah,
where it can then grow.
Yeah, but the other thing is what Thomas was saying was he's got a team of people around him, and I think the good thing is some people when they try and sort of set shows up maybe or an expo up, and they don't realise the magnitude of it or the work involved, and they try and do it on their own, and then all of a sudden it becomes too much of a job to take on board, and they don't work because of that. Whereas he seems like he's got the right idea and the people involved around him, and he's got a team of people to sort of the way he's got it set up. He definitely knows what he's doing, and hopefully it will really, really be successful.
That's it. Oh, my support. And my dating video super good. Had a lot of thoughts. I've been having about keeping captivity and way more. I still need to watch that one actually.
I'll tell you what, it's an amazing video. I was on the exercise bike today watching it. I need a distraction because otherwise that bike is horrible. I was on there today watching Dave's video, and honestly, it was so good. And you could see that he's just trying to address people that have given him grief as well. But the video itself with the information, it really is. It's thought-provoking, and at least if nothing else, I did put a comment on there saying if nothing else, it's going to raise discussion amongst a lot of other keepers, which is the main purpose of what his video was, I think. Talking about, he was showing Thai zebra spiders where he's got obviously a fossorial spider, where he's got one that has never burrowed because he's set out one way, but it's made like the curtains and stuff like this, and then the other one sits in a certain place and its burrow and never uses its enclosure. So why does it need this space by this space? And he's just saying a lot. He keeps his adult female Balfouris in a 20 cube, and they don't use all the space. So the main question he had, I won't spoil the video for you, but the main question he had was, what is the purpose? What do you want your spider for? Well, not really what enclosure does it need. It's what do you want the spider for? And then your enclosure size should be appropriate. And it's a very, very good video. Very good video. Obviously, all Dave's videos are amazing, but this one, it should hopefully raise a lot of discussions amongst a lot of keepers.
So, totally. And it's one of these things that, So he's got so many years of experience in keeping, and obviously he comes from like mid zoo background as well and stuff where we do things slightly differently sometimes. And
which he does reference that. He references like lions and animals like not wanting to wander for food. If they don't have to, they won't, but if they do, they will. And that's why, you know, spiders might not necessarily need as large as you think, because if they're getting food, why would they need to leave their web?
That's it. I mean, there's the monster tarantula. It's the one that Chester Zoo works with, critically endangered tarantula. They've studied it out in the wild, and they found that adult females won't go more than 5 centimeters away from their burrow.
Bloody hell! Bloody hell! Yeah, that's like me in this room. To be fair, I like, as soon as I leave through the door, I get a bit worried.
Sort of thing.
Yeah,
you know, their burrows are they like they've done I think they've done a paper for them, but it might just be just maybe just for zoos or something, but maybe in a zoo journal or something. But they've done something and they like had photos of wild burrows, and literally they're all like within 5 centimeters of each other. So just holes everywhere in the ground, kind of thing. That's all individual female burrows,
but that's all their own territories.
And they're like they won't go really any further than 5 centimeters.
Yeah, I think still so much in its infancy with understanding and requirements and stuff, and it's like Dave says, really it's a big learning process. You know,
although spiders have been kept in captivity since like the 1800s or whatever.
Yep.
The London Zoo, the first ever like invert house.
Yep.
But it's only in the past, the past 5 years, like our knowledge has greatly exceeded and changed. Like, when we sometimes say about spiders live this long, often we don't really know.
Yeah.
Because actually they live far longer. It's just that perhaps we haven't, they haven't been studying the wild long enough, and we just perhaps haven't kept them in captivity long enough ourselves.
And you look at something, a 30-year-old spider in the wild, chances are as it slows down, it's going to become far more easily available to a lot of other predators. So it's like it may live to 40, 50 in captivity. Who knows? Yeah. The interesting one is as well is the what was I going to say? It was the not the enclosures, but the setups, but also like the fossorials about how much they dig, and it's getting the environments right. And Dave just talks about environmental parameters, basically. What I was going to say was that the issue is as a new keeper, one of the things that I found was I would literally come along and I'd be like, right, I'm going to go to YouTube and have a look at some videos. But if you just do a Google search on a certain species, one of the top ones you get, obviously all the time, are you get like Mike's tarantulas, you get another one from South Africa that comes up a lot of the time when you just put, and it's just the care sheets. And then you look at when those web pages were published, and it's like, they're a long time ago, but because they're the first result searches, people read something and they instantly say, well, that's the law. And then the next person who comes along, if they ask them, well, what do we do? And they say, I'll keep it at this humidity, this temperature, and set it up like this. And that's how the old information propagates itself still in the hobby today. Yep. And as a new keeper, I found that really frustrating because I was like,
absolutely. That's the thing. That's when people just regurgitate the same old information all the time, not speaking actually from experience. Whereas Dave speaks from experience of keeping them and stuff. And again, looking at things, you're like, okay, this is what it's like in the wild, but how can we do this in, how can we keep this successfully in captivity? That's a bit different because at the end of the day, captivity is not the wild.
No, and it worried me quite a bit when I started doing my YouTube videos. And I've got some setups with my juvies in, and I'm like, I was really reluctant to put those on camera because I was like, well, I know they're happy, or I say happy, they're eating, they're moving, they're molting, they've got the parameters they need. But I was very dubious about putting them up because I didn't want the backlash of like, well, that setup's way too small for that spider. That setup's way too small for that animal. Why have you got that set up like that? It's not big enough. It's not this. It's not that. And I shied away from putting some of the juvies I've got actually on film, which is possibly why I focused on my slings quite a fair bit. Because even though I knew that they were being looked after and they cared for and they were seemingly okay in their environments, it did sort of worry me because you see some people who've got a lot larger enclosure, and then you see other people like one of the examples, Dart Den, where he keeps his spiders in sometimes in very small environments.
Yep.
And I just shied away from putting them on there for the backlash. But now I've just grown to not care because I know the spiders are eating and molting, so they wouldn't if they weren't in the right setups. That's for sure.
That's it. That's it. Harry's asked if anyone's heard of Justin Schmidt. I've certainly heard of him. He came up with the Schmidt scale for insect stings. If you want to know what an insect sting, how it's going to feel like, you'd look at the Schmidt scale.
Oh yeah, entomologist, isn't he?
He's one of those sort of, he got stung by a lot of things, and then started writing down what it feels like and stuff.
Yeah, you've braver man than me.
For insect stings, go by the Schmidt scale.
Some of those things can leave a nasty, nasty sting, can't they?
Phil, your group behind you looks like it's giving itself head. Oh dear. Oh dear, Leah. Leah's mind is always in the gutter. Always in the gutter.
That's why she gets those targeted adverts.
That's it.
Purchase history. Purchase history, they're called. They're not called targeted adverts.
So,
hi, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, I know. Talking about, I know Max has put up about his setups and not having a mature. I've got one confirmed female agen, so I know that's going to be a bit of a monster, hopefully. But I've got 2 slings as well, and I know that the good thing is about the geniculatas is I think they've got quite obvious spermithia at a young age, so I think that's why most of the time when you see the smaller specimens, they're normally like sexed quite easily. I know so many legs is like, very small ones, 3 centimeters, and they're always sexed quite easily. I think they've got quite a large spermithia. I did actually find a good website the other day, a German website, I think it was, with all the hand drawings of all the spermithia of most of the common tarantulas to help you identify what you're looking at. I think it's probably the most useful thing I've come across in recent times. Because sometimes when you're looking for a female, you don't know what you're looking for, and you think automatically, I can't really see a flap. And then you realise, well, actually, on something like a GBB, it's almost non-existent.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only other things, looking at the furrow and stuff, and sometimes it's minute little details as well.
Yeah. Is that
same with like sexing scorpions? And something can be very minute actual differences sometimes.
They're quite difficult to sex, aren't they? A lot of the time, scorpions.
Yeah. So C's probably hates when other reptile keepers have a go at him because his enclosures are too big. Yeah, but with reptiles, there's no such thing as too large enclosure. Absolutely. There we go.
Oh,
we might have possibly talk about feeding imposter syndrome.
How long we got? Right. Well, the thing is, I will address it quickly. I do. I was talking to Leah about this the other day, actually. I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning her name. But I was talking to Leah about it, not for any other reason. I was trying to explain that if you harness it for a good thing, it can really have some benefits in your life. I have got huge self-doubt and always second guess everything I do. So I've taught judo and run a judo club for 8 years now. And I still, to this day, after every week, come away thinking, did the black belts that I taught tonight think, what the hell is that guy doing? Am I doing it right? Did I teach the technique right? Did I do this, do that? Oh, I'm a fraud. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. But now, the way I look at it is, if I didn't give a monkeys about running my classes well, I wouldn't care if it went well. And it's the same with the spiders. So when I do a video, I'm critical about my videos all the time. Like, did I do that right? Did I give misinformation? Are people going to like it? But the way I look at it is, if I didn't worry and want to be better and have more perfection in what I do, then that would be bad. So I take it as a positive. Second guessing yourself means you care. And I do think that imposter syndrome is a huge thing. It's a very common thing amongst a lot of people. But I think it just shows that you actually care and want to improve. And that is a good thing. If I didn't, and I didn't want to improve because I didn't care about or second guess, then I think that's where the point when people need to worry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all go through that.
Yeah, yeah.
But before I started my channel, and people, a few people saying, "Oh, you should," I was like, "Well, I've got," "Well, I've got nothing to offer," kind of thing. There's other people doing it. Well, I've got nothing else to offer, sort of thing. And then, I plumped and done it, and now I'm like, actually, I'm really glad I did do it.
Yeah, exactly. I think Max has just said at the point there, he says, I care too much to the point where I don't do anything. And that's the issue, because the phrase is paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
And that is a very common thing as well. Paralysis by analysis is a huge thing with human beings. You end up worrying so much that you end up not even making a start on anything. It's not. It's not something that is very uncommon. It's more common than you believe, honestly.
And if it's like, if you want to do things like videos or whatever, is remember, yes, you're going to look back in your first ones, you're going to be like, what the hell was that? I look back at some of my old ones, and it's like, and Scott said the same thing with his and stuff. You're stumbling over your words all the time. You're doing this and that, all this and the other.
Yep.
And that's everyone. Before I really properly started, I watched a few, videos on doing a channel and stuff, and there was always a constant thing like, just do a video and put it out there, because no matter what, everyone's first video is rubbish. Sort of thing.
If I had, I don't ever keep them, but because I haven't got enough space. But sometimes I'll sit there and I'll do an intro or something like that, and I'll be talking to the camera, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I'll mess up a few words, and then I'll just sit there for 3 minutes ranting at the camera, and then press stop record, erase, start again, and I have about 9 or 10 of those before I get it right.
And that's everyone. That's everyone that does that. Spoke to a friend, Jamie Norris, Reptile Shed. He does the same thing, and there's certain videos you know where he's going, because they clearly went on a 15-minute rant about something.
That's why I miss Bethany. That's why I miss Bethany, because she used to put all the bloopers in, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. I do it all the time. Film, and then you know what you're gonna say, but then suddenly your mind just gets blank, and you just start talking gibberish or whatever. Yeah. You're just like, what the hell? So everyone does that. So, but yeah, I was the only reason I literally kind of started my channel really was people at work kind of encouraging me to do it, and then I paid for one of my colleagues to do my logos. If I paid for something to do it, that's going to encourage me to do it.
Yeah,
because I need to make it worthwhile actually having that made.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I probably would never have done it.
Yeah, I get that. Sort
of thing. And so, and I started mine because I was a bored zookeeper during lockdown.
Yeah, and Dave started during lockdown as well, didn't he?
I had no one to talk to about inverts and stuff.
Yeah. I can imagine. I bet did the isolation at your place must have been quite. I mean, I know you've got the animals around you and stuff, but you're stuck in the middle of it.
The animals. Oof. Hey, Andy. Yeah, because when that first happened, we went down to literally just 4 keepers a day, and 4 keepers a day avoiding each other. So there were days I wouldn't see a single person.
Yeah,
I'd be working, but I wouldn't see anyone. So what was nice is that our directors went, because we. Kept radio contact. We always had our radios on and stuff, and we and went, what, we're closed. There's no one here. If you want to swear and do whatever on the radios, go for it. Sort of thing. Say what you like. Literally, they're like, all radio protocol is ended. Sort of thing. But it's really just just to try and keep morale high, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we started doing live streams on the park social media, because a few other zoos were doing that, and there again, a lot of people sort of watching. So I ended up doing like a live stream for like an hour talking about spiders.
Right. Okay.
There's other people. The chair of the terrestrial invertebrate working group was watching. I was like, oh god, I've got the chair watching me now. The person who's like pretty much in charge of inverts for the whole of like UK zoos.
All right. It's good though. The Shepprith social media on Instagram stuff is actually really good. It's like if people don't follow that page, it's well worth a follow because some good content on there.
So yeah, we done that, and then that kind of, I was like, well, yeah. I started thinking like, well, if I can speak to people that I don't know and can't see for an hour on tarantulas and other spiders, then perhaps I can do,
YouTube. Yeah.
a few minute videos that are down. So I end up doing like, a couple just for work, literally. And they're like, oh yeah, you should put that on here. And I was like, started looking into it more, and then went, yeah, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. Certainly didn't expect to get where I am now with it, sort of thing.
I don't think most people do though, do they? I don't think most people think, oh, that's going to blow up. But
when I got to 100 subs, I was like, oh my god, 100 people have subscribed to me. What the hell?
So how does one thing I was going to ask you actually was, how does work, like, obviously, because some of the footage you have on your videos are obviously setups that you have actually at work. Yep. And of work, like 100%, yep, you can film whatever you want on site and this, that, and the other, because that's pretty awesome.
They're fully supportive as long as it's nothing that it could look bad on them, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Or can be used out of context. So like, there's certain things you don't want to never film because that could be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
And stuff. Otherwise, I mean, they've advertised my channel. And so they put out on their social media, like, oh, go and follow Keeper Phil, sort of thing. Doing this. One of our education officers, she's always telling people about my channel and stuff. So they're all in like full support of it. They've seen me go around filming. They've seen me do like in the summer when I was doing live streams from going around the park and stuff. They're like, yeah, that's fine, go for it.
In complete contrast to that, we've got at work, we run we have a chat forum thing on our way. Like, it's a bit like Skype, but it's called Teams. So it's Microsoft Teams where you have all the chat, and all the employers at our place have that. And there's a little chat on there called Pets, and it was set up during lockdown where people would post photos with their animals. When we came out of lockdown, and obviously I started getting into the spiders and stuff, people were posting their dogs and everything, and I posted the Beardy. And then after that, someone else posted some other stuff, and I posted a picture of my GBB. I got booted out of the chat. Yeah, so they're not fully supportive.
But yeah, no, like I've got really supportive management and stuff like that. They're happy for me to do stuff like that. We even film the animals and do videos on the animals and stuff. Yeah, as long as it, again, if it's anything like new babies or whatever, as long as it's after they've announced them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because obviously, you want to sort of any secrets or any projects that are coming up with them. It's there.
Or like any new arrivals or whatever. And that's just our general social media policy anyway. Is kind of we don't announce things until it's we don't put out anything about any kind of new arrival until it's gone out on the park social media. As well as like another thing that sort of do, because it's but people say we like sometimes taking selfies with animals and stuff or whatever. And something that's come up recently a lot more, especially with primates mainly, is the context of it. Of like, if you're taking like a selfie or video of you with an animal, is like to make sure it's clearly in a zoo environment, like clearly in like a zookeeper's uniform and stuff, so that you're not accidentally promoting the bad stuff on various beaches or whatever with wild caught monkeys or whatever being used as tourist trap kind of thing, and they have photos taken with it, like, because obviously we're against that sort of thing, but we could, it was sort of broad, like, but actually in some ways what's the difference? In some ways we know there's a difference, but a photo is a photo and people don't see the difference sometimes.
No, and if people want to be, it's only the people that want to be want to shine things in a negative light that will go out looking for it. They only need one spark and they'll be off.
So yeah. Steve, I can confirm that Leah was my first YouTube member. Steve, you were my first Patreon member. So, but yeah, that's just, how it all started. So, and it's it's sort of a mental rise kind of thing of you never think when you do this sort of thing that nowhere in my head was like oh, I'm going to meet people from it.
Yep.
And so make friends from it, which obviously there's you, there's Leah, there's Steve, there's all sorts of people, there's Andy, there's Scott, everyone, and you're like, oh well, actually I've ended up meeting people and making friends through it. And that was really not, it was literally just a way of me. I want to talk to people about inverts, so I'm going to film myself talking about inverts and just put out there. Maybe someone might.
Isn't it as well? It's strange. Talking about the friend side of things, it's really strange because obviously spiders and inverts are the things that have sort of made people sort of in the same circle. But then when you actually get talking to people who are in that circle, it's all of a sudden you find like completely random other things that are that they're also interested in that are completely off base. So it's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, and then you find something else and something else, and it's a real strange thing that's happened with it. Because I'm exactly the same. Like, obviously, made some good friends in the hobby, and obviously later this year, obviously we'll be going to a concert at some point together, which will be quite awesome. I say together, we're going to be there at the same time.
You're letting our secrets out, mate. You're letting our secrets out.
Yeah, so but that's going to be entertaining, to say the least. I think Connor's going to be absolutely awesome. He loved that thing, but yeah, that's going to be a good. It's just strange that the amount of other things that people have in common outside of just the spiders as well. Like it's definitely makes plus with metalheads exactly like Mark is as well. Mark's like a metalhead as well, and there's I'm sure there and Steve is as well. So there's a few people. There's a
certain demographic that some of us are like, in some ways, a stereotypical look of what people think of as a spider keeper or reptile keeper sometimes. Like got beard, got Pearson's got long hair, got this, sort of thing. And so, but I think it's just the two sometimes go together because when you become a metalhead, it's not seen as the popular music, so you kind of sometimes on the outer fringes of like the school ground and stuff, and this at the other, and then reptile keep certainly when I was started keeping reptiles and inverts and stuff. Again, they're kind of the outer fringes as well, so you kind of feel that thing. Then it's that you build your own communities up, sort of thing, and they kind of go almost hand in hand a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's the other reason why I'd like the YouTube thing has been. I've ended up with more support than I thought I was going to do, just literally because the community inside is so awesome and everyone is just really supportive of each other. I think because all the people in there are a little bit out there. Like we're not mainstream human beings, like, and it's the more people you meet in the hobby, the more you realise that, well, actually, if the hobby gets much bigger, the mainstream will be the invert keepers anyway.
It's a growing thing because of the fact that I think inverts are one of the main growth industries in terms of sort of pet keeping, because a lot of them are so low maintenance.
Yeah, low maintenance. Yeah, low cost.
Don't take up a huge amount of room.
No, exactly.
People are finding it interesting and stuff. So, Harry's one of a big one. Monkeys as pets. Can we talk about it? That is a loaded question. That one.
This is again though talking about how over the years research has shown and developed and changed, because 10, 15 years ago, if you put that question up, everyone would have said, well, yeah, like I know so-and-so's got this monkey or this chimpanzee or this down the road, and that's changed an awful lot over the years.
Now, what I'm going to say is, for me, there is a difference between a pet and ones that are privately kept.
Yeah, that's a good statement.
And there is a difference. I do know at least one private keeper of primates, and he is as good as a lot of zoos. And so, and even as a vive zoos as well. So I actually went to a talk with him. He was doing a talk on the private sector of primates. So I was like, well, I want to go to that because I'm really interested, interested to see what his point of view was. And I was really impressed with it. He actually keeps a lot of big reptiles as well and does it in a fantastic way. He's in Northern Ireland.
Yep.
And so, based on social media about stuff, and he was, he makes it that differentiation. All his primates are rehomed ones. And some of the ones that come from as pets that have not been kept correctly and stuff. So yeah, they're not a pet animal at all, because a pet animal is something that you fasten, you cuddle, and this is like. Although I refer to like my inverse as pets, technically they're not pets. I'm a private keeper.
Private keeper.
And stuff, and it's a private collection and stuff. But he's got ringtail lemurs, he's got capuchins. I think he's got marmosets, or he has had marmosets, but he's got them in groups. And so he's got them in large enclosures in his garden. They're all basically zoo quality enclosures. And so feeds them the correct diets and stuff. So he's and he doesn't see them as pets.
Yeah,
and he's like, I do this. That's it. And even some of his, I think some of his, I want to say, pretty sure he said some of his ringtail lemurs came from a Boyaza zoo.
All right. So, there was a guy a few years ago in Essex, in a town 2 towns away from me, used to have tigers. As a private collection, and he had tigers, and I mean the facility he had for them was, it was on quite a big scale, but it was really strange. The place is now a kids go and collect pumpkins at Halloween from the fields where he had the tigers. It's really weird, but he had tigers for years.
So yeah, it's one of those sort of controversial ones. I mean, personally, I'm one of these that's like, well, if you can give the animal everything it needs and it can live a good, healthy life, and you can provide everything it needs, it's not my right to say you can't have something loving, kind of thing. And certainly, this guy, he does it really, really well.
The thing is, if you're going to go that way,
there's some private keepers that keep far better than zoos as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you go down that route, it's the same for every animal, isn't it? If you can give any animal, like dogs, there's a lot of dogs there's probably a lot of dogs if you knock on door to door of people's houses where dogs aren't kept in ideal environments.
I mean, when I was studying animal management, as I said, the most neglected animal in the UK is a rabbit.
Yeah, because
people think they know how to look after a rabbit.
Yeah,
but actually, very few people actually do.
I wonder how close hamsters are to that as well, because hamsters, the pet shops and don't do themselves any favour with the
throwaway pets. They only live a couple of years, actually.
The requirements. I mean, some of the enclosures you see now where they're being kept properly, and they've got 2.5 foot of substrate, and they're kept in a 4x2x2 as a minimum, and it's like just for a Chinese hamster, Crazy. The little tiny enclosures are awful.
That's it. And that's the thing. That's where a lot of people bash heavily on exotic keepers stuff. And of course, as with everything, there's good and bad.
Yep.
And there's good keepers, there's bad keepers. There's good zoos, there's bad zoos. And we can't judge everyone by the bad keepers. But when it comes to exotics, by and large, because they cost more money and there's a lot more research, people are willing to do the research a lot more.
Yeah.
And are willing to spend the money a lot more to actually make sure that they're kept right. Whereas, do you find, cats, dogs, this, and the other.
You've got to be
hamsters, gerbils, whatever, mice that they're seen as, sometimes as throwaway pets.
I mean, I know there are people who obviously it's all relative, isn't it? If you're a billionaire, then spending £1,300 on a Cayman is just the same as me going and spending £5 on something. But at the same time, you sort of hope by and large the majority of the cases aren't those cases. So if you are going to go and put £1,300 down on a Cayman, that you're going to be doing your research and giving it the best care possible.
Yeah, and it's not fairly normal pets to get them horribly standard, since it's seen as normal. People don't bat an eye. But poor comment on is keeping off tarantulas. Yeah, absolutely happens. Steve's come in with one of his jokes. Of course, rabbits get left in drawers, forgotten. Oh, batteries in them. It's a shame. Hey, Sandra.
I started reading that thinking, you know what? Like, here's a good comment, and it's like they end up on Leah's wish list.
It's Steve though. And so kept hamsters when he was younger. MT's kept them game by natural style setups, and the behaviour change was amazing. Absolutely is.
You see some of the TikTok. There's a girl on TikTok who spent around $5,000 on her setups for her hamsters in her room, right?
Yeah.
And these things have the whole room as a playroom, and they've got wheels, big Ferris wheel type wheels, and all sorts of that. Absolutely amazing. But they literally will. She says to them, right, night, and she will talk to them, and they will respond. They are that in tune with her now because of the care she gives that they will just literally do commands for her. They're crazy animals.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. I mean, that's something that like nowadays is being talked about more and more. I mean, I listen to the Animals at Home podcast quite a lot, and he's had twice on called Crab Central Station. I think it's on YouTube as well.
Right. Okay.
And pretty much all that stuff is on hermit crabs.
Right. Okay.
So in the States, and again, one of the things that, and it happens in the UK. Pretty much all hermit crabs are wild caught. That's old. But she didn't know that, and again, in the States, it's kind of seen as like throwaway pets, way, on holiday with the kids or whatever.
Yep.
And they bought hermit crabs from shop, brought them back, and then found out, they can live like 40 odd years.
Yeah.
So okay, and then started doing research like, these. So you used to have like a whole room and with like multiple tanks and stuff. So they got like different areas that they can go to. They've got a beach area and a forest area and this, that, the other. And so I was like properly looking into like, I think she has actually bred them now in captivity.
Yeah.
Which so few people have done. And so, when it comes to hermit crabs, and it's like, properly going heavy into the hermit crabs, and it's like, that's amazing, that sort of stuff. Whereas most people, buy them for a few quid and, don't care, sort of thing.
Well, Harry, I know vampire crabs. Some people have bred them.
So vampire crabs they're the easiest ones to breed. All the ones you're going to probably see at shows are wild caught.
They have a tendency to eat their babies, don't they?
They can do it. I mean, you've got to say I'm a bit like a dart frog. I know somebody breeds them quite a lot and stuff, and every large seller has refused to buy them because they get them so cheap. Wild caught.
We've had that discussion before, I believe. Yeah, it's all about pricing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's sad, isn't it? Sad, like you're a successful breeder, and yet people aren't interested because they'd rather go white. There's an ethical issue right there.
So, I mean, this guy, he breeds them. He'll buy wild caught ones still because he'll look for the females.
Right. Yeah.
And so, especially if they're carrying eggs and stuff. Yes, Harry, wild caught is always cheaper than captive bred, and by a lot often.
Oh, Steve started something in the chat now with the rabbit comment, hasn't he?
God.
Him and Mark are going off.
Of course he has. And sort of thing. So yeah, like wild caught vampire crabs, I think the most sometimes they pay is like a couple of quid for a wild caught vampire crab, and then they sell it for 10, 12 quid. So but,
don't read
sort of thing.
It gets to that time of night, doesn't it? And
but yeah, But I'm hoping that at some point I might be getting a tank of vampire crabs that are breeding.
Oh, nice.
And have young in from a friend of mine because if all being well, he's going to Guyana for a year. Him and his family.
Okay. Yeah.
They're going to go and live in the rainforest for a year.
Very nice.
And he was like, "Well, do you want my vampire crabs?" I was like, "Oh, good do."
I must admit, I did look when we was at I think it was Bedford. Yeah, it was Bedford. They had Bugs UK had a lot of various crabs there. They had some of the vampire crabs up there, and I was tempted, but it's just again, it's another one I wasn't ready to diversify and again learn something completely different just to make sure that you knew the setup, because I think some people like you get some. I know it's quite simple to sort of like you buy yourself a millipede and then you get home and you're like, oh, I've got to look how to keep this, because with millipedes, because they're so common, there's going to be a lot of videos. You can spend half an hour watching videos and then set a tub up. You know, as long as you've got the tub and as long as you've got some soil of some sort, you're going to be able to make an environment that works for them. But the crabs, it's like they do need a specific setup with the way they've got their water. Some have to have fresh, some have to have salt, some have to have like a mossy patch, some don't, some want it deep, some want shallow. There's a minefield with the crabs.
Yeah, it is completely different. Absolutely completely different with them. Then yeah, just to confirm, Harry, all wild caught inverts and reptiles, all wild caught reptiles are always cheaper than captive bred. Often. So that's why, yeah, you know, adult wild caught scorpions sometimes talking what 10, 12 quid, sometimes 15. Whereas, you know, even if you manage to get a true captive bred one, you're normally talking maybe a £5 or £8 for a true captive bred scorpion.
Yeah. The thing is, some people always want things. They want things cheap, and unfortunately,
cheap and instant gratification as well.
Yeah,
instant gratification. You know, so many people will go. You know, or we got a £6 heterometric spinnifer scorpion, or a £10-12 sub-adult heterometric spinnifer. Well, I'll go for that.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's not good, is it? I see that comment from Susan saying she's a trained rodentologist, providing palliative care for them. It's interesting.
That's very awesome, Susan.
I did used to keep. I had ferrets when I was very young, and then we had a couple of hooded rats. I must say though, that was in my teenage years, and I probably didn't give them the best environment they possibly could have. But what I did do, which was a much better decision, was after I realised I wasn't giving them the best care that they could possibly have, I ended up giving them to a rescue centre that this person just had their whole house set up for rats. So they went on to have their best life, and I sort of knew the person and kept going and visiting them and stuff like that. But rather than keep them and just have them dying of being kept incorrectly. But yeah, rats were cool. Rats are actually really, really cool animals.
Yeah, that's cool. I was going to say she could talk for days about piggies. Well, so if you ever fancy, because I'm happy to talk about other animals. If you want to come on and tell us all about piggies, you would be more than welcome. So, yeah, there's potentially something I don't really know. You know, guinea pigs are pretty cool, but I don't necessarily know a huge amount about them. We've got Brazilian wild ones here, but I don't have anything to do with them.
I'll tell you what.
Very fragile things.
One of the bits round the back end of the zoo, when you go round by the railway line and you've got all the rabbits along there, that was pretty cool when we came up. That was really nice.
Bunnyland. It's like six rabbits in a huge enclosure.
Yeah, big setup with all the thing going underneath the grass.
All our rabbits are they're all old pet rabbits that people don't want anymore.
Really? Oh, right.
Oh yeah, every single rabbit we take in either comes from either they've called us up and they've managed to sort of work out that we then can take it, or come from a local centre.
Oh, right.
Sort of thing that we work with and stuff.
How does the Hedgehog Centre operate outside of your place? Because it's just outside the car park, isn't it? You got the is it Hedgehog Rescue Centre there as well, or vet?
Yeah, we call it Hedgehog Hospital. It's kind of like a rehab centre. So it's run by our charity, so it's not part of the park. Because that's wild animals being rehabbed and stuff. So for quarantine purposes, ballet, they can't come onto park, like within the park kind of thing.
Yeah,
hedgehog, because of like in case they, bring
Brilliant.
anything in. But basically, what the guys in there do is, people bring in the hedgehogs out they've found out during the day or covered in ticks or whatever, and basically, rehab them. When they can be re-release them back into the wild.
All right.
Stuff, treat them for things. They have some interesting things that go on in there sometimes. The manager in there, like she was telling me the other day, apparently it was on Christmas Day. One of them, one hedgehog's, one of its eyes decided to explode.
Ouch.
Yeah, and she's like having a watch. She's like, she said in the corner around, she's like, that doesn't look good. What's going on there? It's just a big bulge. Like, picked it up and was like, what's going on? And then it just went poof. It's like,
jeez.
Like,
oh my
right,
word.
I was like, can't really get hold of a vet on Christmas Day. To be like, this has happened. What the hell do we do?
Oh wow. You get sorted.
Yes. Now I had its eye removed or what was left of it removed. Apparently wasn't much left. So
cleaned out and stitched shut, I presume.
So yeah. So just go back. Yeah, Harry, Steve has said, Harry, Heterometrus monotaurus is Heterometrus levigatus. Now, as is Heterometrus Qumrani. Both have been bought as Heterometrus levigatus now, as of 2020. So, which is interesting because they look fairly different. Like what was Qumrani and what was Monotaurus look fairly different to each other, but they're now the same species.
Fair enough.
I don't think we'll consider the same species now.
They do like to reclassify, don't they? It's not just the spiders that get reclassified on a semi-regular basis. It's the scorpions get a fair bit.
Everything does, but then sometimes it can take an age to reach hobby level, if it ever does.
Right, yeah. And does that
some of them don't. Like scorpion reclassification is very far behind. Very far behind. It was not far behind, but like reaching hobby level, because scorpion hobby is just not as big as tarantula hobby.
Yeah.
Even in tarantula hobby, some of it takes years to reach hobby level.
When they do the reclassifications and stuff, do you find that sort of after obviously they've got all the species, they've got all the genus and things, and they realise, well, actually we've misidentified this and that, and eventually it must sort of settle down and the reclassifications slow down over time. But the trouble is spiders is the amount of spiders that are still undiscovered and possibly ones that have never been seen before. They're still finding new ones, aren't they? That's going to cause it to jumble up an awful lot more.
Absolutely, and that's why you get things like, you'll see your genus and then it'll be labeled species, whatever. That's because they're not actually formally identified as a species. So that's because, unfortunately, to identify species, you have to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have enough dead ones to study.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, some people, don't know because sometimes you don't know how many are actually left in the wild.
Yeah.
You don't want to make sure there's plenty out there before you actually sort of do it. And that's why I know with the Barupis, I think what they done there, because it was a Tarantula Room and Spider Planet that kind of brought them over, I believe. I think they sort of gave it kind of a name until they'd bred enough to then give some to some specimens to like sort of Danny Sherwood and Ray Gabriel to actually sort of study under the microscope and stuff and go, oh yeah, this is, let's give it now a full taxonomic name.
Yeah, because they find stuff, don't they, sometimes in regions and think they've discovered new thing and then realise it's actually the taxonomy of it is exactly the same as another species.
It's a locality of something, it's something else or whatever.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So, like, at some point, the centipedes are going to probably get all mixed up because, like, look at Scolopendra giani, and depending on where it comes from, what part of Asia it comes from, they can look very different to each other. So,
Right.
it's like, well, are they actually all one species, or is there subspecies, or are they different species?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mark Spider Guy doesn't care as long as they stay out of his house.
Yeah, that's probably. And then like millipede taxonomy is an absolute mess.
Really?
Yeah, absolute mess. So, but there's not really many people actually, looking into them.
Yeah, I noticed when I got mine, it was actually really difficult for me to find because I've got the Ghanaian speckled legs. Trying to find what they were and actually their name and their locality and what any videos on or anything. It was an absolute nightmare because I couldn't find anything that they were sold as to me in any.
The photo, they're the same as what I've got, which I call the olives, which is the Pteranodonopus auti.
Yeah, that's what I eventually had them as. Yeah, the Utis, but it was just like even like the giant trains. It seems like there's a lot of large species that they're not the same. They're a completely different genus, but they are roughly the same size. But because they all look the same and they're just sold as they're dark and they're big, they must be a giant train, and then they're just sold as giant trains regardless of what their actual scientific name is.
And it happens all the time, unfortunately. And stuff. It's getting better. As most of the sport, it's going to mess up some captive breeding populations if they're found to be different species, and they absolutely will. And that's why it's certainly like in the centipedes game, they do say like trying to breed any is to make sure that your pairs come from the same area.
Yeah.
Well, that they're sold as the same thing and come from the same area. Like it's no good breed and a Gianni, was it dragon or whatever, with a cherry red. I think because they're actually very different looking to each other. They're both Darnies.
But what Max was saying there as well, it's like that's where I had a big discussion with someone about it, rightly or wrongly. I was just interested in the discussion, was talking about the Albiplosans, and they were talking about the TSS bringing in the adult female, wild caught adult females. And someone was saying, well, it's brilliant because of purified bloodlines, this and the other. And it's like, yeah, but the trouble is people are going to buy it in the hobby and breed it with their one that they've got as a male, whether they know that their male is a pure true form or a hobby form or a Nicaraguan or whatever, and they're going to just muddy that water of the one they've bought in that's wild caught pure breed, and they're going to end up muddying the water anyways. It just seemed a massive pointless argument really for them bringing them in when something like the Albiplosas, they're so readily available as animals and slings and stuff in the hobby. And I get it bringing in these pure lines, but most people then in the hobby will just be a hobbyist buying it, and if they breed it, chances are the other partner of that breeding project is not going to be a pure bloodline.
No, definitely.
So it doesn't clean up the line at all, does it? And I do need to address something. Someone's put about a guinea pig squeak. It's called popping. It's not called squeaking. It's popping.
So imagine for these got CITES bred brachypelma media. So adult female will only paired with another CITES male.
Yeah.
Which will probably never happen.
More than likely.
So they did. So they managed to get in a few years ago a bigger Mexican shipment straight from like Mendoza and stuff. So it was all like CITES paperback and like pure as you'd ever get kind of thing. And they did put out like please, if you buy these spiders, make sure you buy, more and only breed them with other of these lines, kind of thing. Don't.
I have a few brackies, and I have a Hamorai, and I have a Smithy sling. Now, because obviously it's sold to me as a Smithy, it does look slightly different on the carapace and the legs, but it's only it's a smaller sling, so I can't 100% tell. But it will never get bred, just simply because I can't tell whether it is a true Smithy or whether it is just a Hamorai that's been sold as a Smithy or not. So those ones will never get bred. It's a shame, but at the moment I've got, I'll say I've got one of
And
those.
again, because we didn't know, a few years ago, they could even be a hybrid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very, very possible.
And
stuff, and we just didn't know.
Yeah, they just have to be careful. But the trouble is, it's only responsible keepers. It's not the people who want to say, "Oh, I want the spiders because of their colours and stuff," that are going to ever worry about that side of things too much. But hopefully, those people won't be too worried about breeding either.
Well, Susan's going to school you in piggy terminology.
It's popping. I knew that'd get a bite somewhere. I knew it'd get a bite. It's popping.
Hey Scott, going to be in a pain.
Popping.
So, no,
I'll argue it to my deathbed.
So,
guinea pigs.
Unless anyone's got any questions for Matt, it has actually gone past 11 o'clock, actually.
Yeah, it's been a long one, hasn't it?
So, it's very good. It doesn't feel like 3 hours. It really doesn't, which is great.
The conversations, actually, I was a little bit sort of like, I don't know, I was a little bit nervous about coming on the live tonight because I was like, I know I can talk for England, so that's a bonus, but I was like, felt quite nervous about coming on the.
It's been absolutely fantastic. Scott's coming with, are you looking forward to being a granddad?
I'm not even acknowledging that as a valid question. He's just venting his frustration.
Yes, he is looking forward to it.
In many years to come. I look forward to it in many years to come. There you go. I'll take that answer. Oh, he's a dick, isn't he? Oh, if I didn't like him so much,
I mean, I'm sure everyone who is watching and in chat is subscribed to you. If not, do go ahead and we're going to put the links in the chat. So, and link to Instagram as well.
Oh, cheers! I do appreciate it. It's been a really good chat actually tonight. I've really enjoyed it.
Please come in, Brandon, Matt, who's on Calvert though. Good.
I don't know, but Leah will probably know who's got a Prince Albert. You were Phil's. Hold on a minute. You were Phil's fist member. I love it when she makes
secrets.
That's brilliant. No, Emma probably doesn't know who I am. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight, Phil. Absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it. Hopefully once my lives start up, we'll be able to get yourself and Scott and a few of the other guys to sort of take part in a couple of my lives when I get them off the ground and running and stuff.
Definitely.
A few interesting questions.
Or just answers Harry's one. As far as I'm aware, Harry Scorpion Morris has not been captive bred. As far as I'm aware. I could be wrong in that, but I haven't come across any captive bred ones. But it would be great to get them captive bred if we can.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, good. Well,
awesome.
Cheers, everyone who has been watching. Thank you to you, Matt, for agreeing to come on.
More than welcome, buddy. More than welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks to everyone who has become members tonight. That's fantastic. If people want to do that again, only if you can and if you want to. So if you certainly don't have to. I'm still going to be doing the same old content and stuff, and just watching, subscribing and stuff is more than enough. Hopefully, a little taster for next week. Hopefully, all being well, I might have Venom Tech coming on to talk all things venomous and stuff, and Venom research, hopefully. And stuff. So, something hopefully to look forward to there if all things go well. So, thanks, guys. Cheers, everyone, and I'll say good night.